With your forecast, Carl Lamb. Rainers and cloudy conditions today. More rain for areas
White
closer to
babies are lopsided.
60 kilometers per hour.
Disgusting inbred. Feed them to the wolves.
Again, the guaranteed high today, 13.
Oh, you can fuck with my life, but I can't comment on your fucking atrocities.
680 News
Fuck you.
This morning, we're working for you, trying to get answers you need about COVID-19. Now, shortly,
It blows my mind every goddamn day I start one of these. My jewelry's tied in a fucking knot. Get the fuck out of here, you voodoo fucking piece of shit.
Broadcast event in Canadian history. Stronger Together airs tonight on City TV. All in support
The
of
Bible,
COVID-19
the Bible, I swear the Bible, the Spirit will take me, the Spirit will I'm gonna punch you in your ugly face, old person. Oh, white people music. Wow, the classic, the tradition. You see how they just slipped that in there? You see how they just slipped that in there? Toronto Mayor John Tory's about to speak. Let's listen to the Beach Boys, right? Fuck off.
Bianca and Rescue, that's just scratching.
Niggas don't play this way. Fuck off when you get beat, bro. You gave the key to Drake, and Drake got Jack up on his own street. Oh, he's got street cred. There's no key to fucking Toronto, brethren, but there is a key to Canada, brethren. Toronto has never had a key. We specifically are an unwalled city, open to all, 24/7. Oh, but we're gonna give the nigger the key, the overseer. Get it? No, you're not. Mark Saunders, the black police chief. Fuck you.
NORAD and the Canadian Force warrants fighters will be seen and most certainly will be heard around the city tomorrow morning between 10 and 11:30. This training event is in no way related to the federal government's response to COVID-19.
Absolutely not related. Stop saying it's related. Your government said to shut up. It's not related. The Army and the Air Force are not connected.
Alive again this morning. We're working to get you answers about COVID-19.
And we have been taking your questions all week long. Today, we've asked Mayor Tory if he wouldn't mind helping us answer just a few of them.
Now, first, we want to thank everyone who took the time to submit a question about how the City of Toronto is responding to this pandemic. We're going to try to get to as many questions
I want to hear what the pussy hole got did more.
All right, Mayor. So, one 680 News listener has asked, what will it take to reopen the city's economy? And do we need to wait until we're seeing single-digit increases in cases?
I'm not the one to set that limit, but we sure need to see fewer increases in those infected, before. And the kind of things they're looking at is how fast does the number of people multiply itself? What is the rate of hospitalization? These kinds of things. So the parameters will be set by the health people because this is a health problem, a pandemic. And I think we'll know more about the kinds of parameters they're setting as to when we can start looking at implementing the plans we're making to reopen the city this week. I think you'll have a better idea of what those kind of measurements are. Now, we know, Mr. Mayor, there have been a lot of questions through the Mayor testing, saying that
turning backwards every fucking chance it gets. It's tying in knots, turning backwards. Just say, la voodoo.
Well, I'm not trying to pass the buck on this, but testing is a provincial responsibility.
Come back to the Netherlands. I'll show you voodoo, pussy.
Some problems with the supply of the necessary materials to do the testing. I don't know exactly how the strategy was set for testing, especially for people in vulnerable settings like long-term care and shelters and so on. But the bottom line is that the Premier read the Riot Act and now testing has ramped up. And what you're going to get with testing, by the way, is increased numbers of cases you identify because a lot of people are carrying this virus and don't know it until they're tested. They don't have any symptoms.
I don't feel sick. We're testing all the people with symptoms. Right. The Salvation Army, the First Nations, we're testing everybody with symptoms. That's great. Over half don't have symptoms, pussy.
Some people still just aren't quite getting.
They wasted the fucking test. The people with symptoms don't need a test. You can see visually they're sick. You dumb fucking motherfuckers. I hate
white discussion that's been about decreasing fines only because maybe the fine, was set too high. And that on the one hand, you wanted to make sure people understood it was a very serious transgression, because, and the reason is very simple. The science shows that the water droplets that come out of your mouth that can carry the virus, if you're a carrier, without even knowing it perhaps, can transmit themselves up to 6 feet, maybe 5 feet. So 6 feet puts you out.
7, you pussy! 2 meters is 7! Don't tell me you don't spit when you talk, I'll knock out your teeth, old woman.
That's what carries the virus, and if they land on somebody else near their eyes or their nose or their mouth, that can transmit the virus. So that's why the physical distancing is important. And, in a way, what you don't want to do is say to somebody, well, because you happen to be walking within 2 meters of somebody in the park, we're going to fine you $1,000. In fact, the fine was set higher by the judge who has to give permission on it than we had asked for. But not making any changes to it at the moment, and we just hope people don't get the ticket because they get it, that they're not supposed to be close to anybody else that they don't live with.
Absolutely. Mayor Tory, we've next got a question regarding essential workers. A lot of people are wondering how the city is responding to calls from various agencies, including the TTC and solid waste workers, who believe they're not being adequately protected from the virus.
We have relied absolutely on the advice of the medical officer of health. She is our chief expert. She is our chief health person. And so every step of the way, when it comes to who should be given PPE, personal protective equipment, masks or whatever, or who may not need it, or who could do it voluntarily and bring their own, we've relied on her advice. And I just think you have to do that. You can't have, a sort of everybody mapping out their own, course here. You've got to rely on somebody to give us the professional health advice. And so, we've evolved over time. So we now are supplying some of that equipment where we didn't before, based on her advice. And we will continue to rely on her advice and continue to place as an extremely high priority the safety of our workers. And I can just tell you that everything we've done, I believe, has been consistent with that, and people have been supplied. We've had no shortage of personal protective equipment throughout, and we won't have any going forward. That's something that we're determined to see, looked after properly.
And today we're hearing reports of some NBA players that will be allowed to return to team training facilities starting on Friday if their local governments allow. The Raptors practice facility, of course, the OVO Center, is on the X grounds, which is owned by city property. And with many of us just itching for any type of live sports, can we expect the Raptors to return to practice?
We're at work on that, and it has nothing to do with the fact their practice facility happens to be on city property. It really has more to do with physical distancing and whatnot, because, again, if you have a whole bunch of people suddenly in their practice facility or anywhere else, you name a place in Toronto, if you have a whole bunch of people suddenly together in a large group in close proximity to one another, this goes against what we're still trying to do. If there's ways in which you can have very small numbers of people quite isolated from one another going about doing something, then that's something you could take a look at. But there are many aspects to this that have to be examined in fairly short order, only because, as you said, the NBA is letting other teams do what they're doing, and what we don't want to see happen, although health has to come first, is see our team put at a disadvantage, and when we want them to get back on the court as soon as it is acceptable for them to do so, and to get back to winning the NBA championship again. So those are discussions that have commenced, but they're at the very, very preliminary stage, because the news just came out about the NBA and it allowing teams across the United States to open their practice facilities.
You are listening to an exclusive one-on-one interview with Toronto Mayor John Tory live right now on 680 News. It's 11:10. Mayor Tory, another listener is asking us, what is the city's strategy if COVID-19 happens to come back in a second or third wave?
Well, I'll tell you this much. What we're trying to do is to avoid that happening at all costs. And that is why we are not going to sort of be stampeded into reopening the city prematurely, because the best thing that could cause a second wave to happen is if you opened the city up prematurely when it really wasn't, you hadn't wrestled the virus down to the ground to an appropriate extent, or if you did the reopening in a way that was kind of too rapid and all of a sudden you contributed to. So if you suddenly said tomorrow, for example, that you could have a Blue Jays game and you could have 50,000 people at the Rogers Center for the Blue Jays game, that's probably going to be an unwise thing to do in the early going, because that, as much as anything else, is going to promote a second wave happening, because all those people are going to be together in one place. There's a story, which I believe is true, I'm sure it's part of history, that they had a Charlie Chaplin opening of some kind in New York City back in the time of the Spanish flu, and that was deemed by itself to be one of the contributors to a second wave that happened there, because a huge crowd of people came outside the theater, and a bunch of people with the virus still in them were there, and it spread to a whole bunch of other people. I believe that's actually a part of history. So we want to avoid that, and the best way to do that is to have time right when the reopening starts, and then do it right in a gradual way so that you don't promote a second wave. The scientific people say there's likely to be a second wave anyway, but you'd like it to be a very small wave that doesn't cause the kind of closing down and so on that we've seen with this one.
And Mayor Tory, once the economy does eventually start to reopen, one listener is asking if you would still recommend people work from home.
Well, I think you're going to see an evolution in that because, not so much because it's going to be a health recommendation, but just because I think people have realized they can work from home. They can be very productive. From the standpoint of business, it does, I suppose, help with the health thing a bit in that you will not have as many people gathered in a workplace at once that can spread this virus or anything else to one another. And I guess from businesses' standpoint, it could allow them an opportunity to reduce their costs because they won't need as much expensive office space. So I think one of the changes you're going to see coming out of this is more work from home. It's better for the environment too. Fewer people, driving their cars around. So I think you'll see more working from home just as an evolution because we've discovered that we can. It's possible technologically to get quite a lot done. And I think you'll see it, but not because the government is mandating it. Although I will say, in the early stages of the recovery plan, I won't be surprised if we say, well, look, not everybody can suddenly pile back on the subway and go to work on the same day, but rather you will have some kind of gradual return to work. So you may see people continuing to work from home for that reason for a while. But I think permanently it may become much more of a feature of work than, even in the radio business. I mean, people were doing, a lot of broadcasts from home and this kind of thing, and TV. It was very interesting to see that happen.
On the topic of working from home, we've seen a lot of pandemic modeling and predictions from both the federal and provincial governments who have both said that efforts to work from home and avoid going out when you can have actually helped to flatten the curve. So one listener is wondering if the City of Toronto has its own modeling that is looking at just how many of us could potentially get sick or even die from COVID-19 in Toronto.
That's a very interesting question, and the answer is there was no modeling done for the City of Toronto itself. The only jurisdiction that is relevant to us that was done was Ontario, and so we did a lot of work at the Toronto Public Health. I'm not a scientist or a data analyzer, but analyst. But the Toronto Public Health extrapolated or analyzed the Ontario numbers and did look at Toronto alone, and we came out with those projections. In fact, we were first out, sort of saying, look, the possible cost if we didn't physically distance ourselves and close businesses down and whatnot was thousands of lives in Toronto alone, in a worst case scenario. And so I can assure you, when I first saw that report, that projection about, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago on a Saturday, I was horrified by that. I was a bit scared by it. I mean, I'll admit to that. But that's when we decided we were going to take every possible measure as a city we could to close things down, to keep people away from one another so as to avoid that. And that's why I think we have saved lives, because I think if we hadn't done that, we would have found a much more rapid spread that had the potential to take not just the terrible number of lives that have already been taken in Toronto, but hundreds and perhaps thousands more.
And the last question we have for you this morning, Mayor Tory, many are wondering, I mean, it's tough times right now for everyone. If somebody can't afford their rent, what are they supposed to do?
It's very interesting because the province took one step very early on, which I commend them for, which is that they banned evictions of residential tenants. Subsequent to that, there's been a program introduced by the federal government and the provincial government to help small commercial landlords and therefore their tenants, who are the shops and the bars and the restaurants we've been talking about. We have been relying in terms of residential tenancies on landlords being reasonable, which I know many of them have been in terms of allowing for deferrals and even spreading out a couple of months' rent over the remainder of the lease and that kind of thing. And I guess I would just hope as we approach the 1st of May that residential landlords are continuing to be accommodating to their tenants. And I would like to know through 311 or otherwise, while landlords and rents are a provincial responsibility, we certainly would want to try to be helpful in encouraging, as I do today, landlords to be accommodating. I know they have their own financial needs, but tenants' financial needs are much more acute. And I think a simple proposition like saying we'll allow you to take a month off your May payment or cut it in half and spread the rest of it out over the next months that are left in the lease is a very reasonable thing to do. And I know it's been done thousands of times across the city, and I hope that will be repeated for anybody who needs that help.
Great, and thank you so much for taking your time to join us, Mayor.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And thanks to the 680 listeners for all those good questions.
Yes, exactly. Submitted by 680 News listeners, all those questions. This is CFTR AM Toronto 680 News.
This is 680 News. I'm David St. Jacques. As an astronaut, I know what it's like to be isolated, away from friends and family. It's hard, but it's what we all need to do for each other. Even if you're not feeling sick, you can still be infected with COVID-19 and pass it to others. Your actions can protect your loved ones. Stay home. Save lives. Visit canada.ca/coronavirus regularly for the latest instructions on how you can help stop this pandemic.
A message from the Government of Canada. You cleaned out the closet, reorganized the basement, feng shui your living room. Now it's time to get outside and tackle the garden.
Cash drawer. Who needs a cash drawer? Nobody needs a cash drawer. No cash out here, motherfucker.
Has made it easier and safer to get topsoil, mulch, compost, sand, and stone delivered to your home with the less.
Where do you see cash? I see the trappings of money. I don't see money. I'm not sorry for saying the shit I just said, but now that I have coffee, I probably won't say it again until tomorrow. Oh, I probably will. Was that the whole thing? 15 minutes? Are they done already? Jesus.
The Apple AirPods Pro wireless noise canceling earphones, each with a bundle of accessories. The iPad
Could have waited, I guess, and then gone and done the garbage.
Video. The AirPods deliver powerful immersive audio. Enjoy big savings today only with 12 easy pay payments on either today's showstopper or both. Shop tsc.ca.
Okay, so where do we pick up where we left Nazi coins or the Marshall Plan? Oh fuck, it's 11:18. You know what? The fucking premier. So Prime Minister not talking today. They told us yesterday. The Premier will be talking shortly. Let's turn that back on.
After the World Health Organization announced there's no evidence that if you have COVID-19 and recovery, you then have the antibodies to prevent.
No, you don't. There's no evidence. I'm gonna put it real simple to you. I'm immunocompromised. I'll beat this COVID-19, and guess what? A month from now, when I don't have enough white blood cells, it don't matter if I got the antibodies in each white blood cell or not. If I don't have the white blood cells in sufficient numbers, this virus will pop back up out of my, I don't know, appendix, liver, kidney, wherever the fuck it hides, and it's gonna go crazy in me again. Or it won't. It will or it won't. I've had animal flus do that. I had 2 animal flus that didn't do that. I had one that did. And it came back every 6 months for fucking 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. From 2011 until 2014 or 15.
Having had COVID once prevents you from getting it again. That same reason, health
Ça, c'est
officials
pas
are also
vrai.
cautioning against the idea of trying to develop herd immunity, as Quebec has looked at slowly.
There's no such thing as herd immunity. It was a theory that 60%, 2/3 of people getting something would prevent the other third from getting it. It was a theory. Now they say 95% have to get a vaccine. Well, that doesn't make sense. Why 95%?
After the way they're doing, or what they're doing right now.
Because there's 3 variants of the flu vaccine.
Kind of setback is exactly what officials say they want to avoid. They're working to develop a national strategy to reopen
Some
Canada's
of it to
economy.
Monsieur
Meanwhile,
Ford
daily addresses
and
today. We'll hear from
Mr.
Ford, the Prime Minister, his ministers, and
Trudeau. I say a lot of
officials
racist shit, but I'm not gonna hurt the
Against
white
680 News.
people. This-
In times like these, shouldn't your money work even harder for you? We think so.
Tell them
That's
white
why
boys
Duke
keep their
Credit Union,
fucking
you get no
hands off
fee
me and
checking
my
accounts.
people,
You
and
also
it
get
won't
high
be a
interest on
problem,
deposits and
alright?
investments and low mortgage rates. Plus, you get to share in the profits.
Le Congolais rouge. Oh, tu penses que j'avais fumé tout? Non, j'avais petit tout.
When you switch to Duca.
Listen to how hard that hit. Thing. It's
Mortgage.duca.com.
compressed, eh?
Do more.
Oh,
Be
it's
more.
so
Achieve
strong,
more
too.
with Duca Credit Union.
I don't know where it came
Conditions
from.
apply.
Wow,
We all have
Congo,
a part in
obviously,
this.
but
And regardless if what you do is considered essential, or you simply
there's
need to
some
pick
big
up a few essentials for your
French-speaking
family.
nigga walking down the block. Who is my marijuana? Who is my lab? Mon lab, c'est perdu. J'avais perdu mon lab. J'avais perdu. J'avais trouvé, monsieur. C'est très bien.
You can depend on us. Contact your local Toyota.
I don't do 5G. I do 7G, 3.5G. White babies do look ugly. I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm not white. I'm bleached. I'm pigmentless.
Flexibility to finance your
I'm
business.
clear, motherfucker.
Flexibility to
I think I'm joking. I can pull out 100 hairs right now that are clear, no pigment.
like credit cards or property
I don't bother
taxes.
because you can't see
If
them.
you've got
You
something
can't see
you
them.
would like to take care of, call Capital Direct today at 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL and see what's available for you. CapitalDirect.ca.
680 News Time, 11:21. Time now for traffic and weather together on the ones with Zach Bodenstein.
This report brought to you by
The Premier's coming up in a minute, right?
Construction, which is restricting access to the eastbound 407 from West Britannia and northbound Bramalea, the same from northbound Yonge and north and south Bayview. All those ramps to the east 407 are closed. Meantime, lane restrictions taking place east 407. Only one left lane able to get by from east of Yonge to east of the 404. 4 left, 5 right lanes make that actually are shut down. The ramps to Leslie and the 404 closed as well. Westbound 401's not affected by any of this, so if you're headed west, really not much to worry about. Northbound Allen, to the west 401, and the collectors shut down. You'll have access in the express, and the eastbound 401's a solid drive right now. Only other construction.
You're not going to see it. I should try and show you anyway.
HOB and 3 lanes that are blocked from the 407 to north of
like
Highway
2 dozen
7.
dots
So is
right
Valley
there.
Parkway looking good. So is the 400 and the QB Gardner.
Oh,
To
yeah.
help you stay safe and at home, Lowe's is offering free parcel shipping and curbside pickup with online purchases.
My whole leg is tore up, man.
Lowe's.ca. With a check of your forecast now, here's
There's
Carl
all
Lamb.
red dots, red
And we
dots,
do
red
have some
dots. I
rain
got red
showers
dots on
for
this
the
side,
east
holes on
end
this side,
areas east
motherfucker.
of Pickering over toward Oshawa, also seeing
Oh,
rain
yeah,
right
I
now,
keep
so
meaning to name the
that's
video,
what
La
we're seeing
Petite
the
Nègre
bulk of it.
Blanche.
Still a little bit hanging around Oakville as you head down towards the Burlington Skyway, and something a little bit trying to work its way into
Ça,
the
c'est
downtown
15,
core.
23
So it is just a
maintenant,
mainly cloudy
monsieur,
day. It's
de
breezy as well.
4-5,
Temperatures headed up to
monsieur,
13 today,
de
down to 3
4-5,
tonight.
monsieur.
Tomorrow, 12 degrees, more cloud than sun, but overall,
Wow.
usable day there as well, and 11 for Tuesday with
The
partly
locomotive?
sunny conditions. Right now, 11 at Pearson, 11 at 680 News. Today's guaranteed high 13.
680 News Time, 11:23. Don't forget 680 News is the only radio station with a weather guarantee. Today's jackpot sits at $22,600.
You've suffered from anxiety and depression during this
There's
pandemic.
another damn defect
Now your claim
paper.
for disability is denied. My name is Aaron Waxman, and during this
I
pandemic,
love getting
we are
defects of
open
things.
and
Yeah, I
working
really
for
do,
our clients
because
from our homes.
it's unique. It means the machinery that spit out 10 million exactly the same spit out 1 million. Yo, who's
Pound
here?
LTD on your cell phone. And before you call, you should always remember that there are no bad questions.
These left. Look, it's got crosshairs and the number 19. This is psychologically fucking with my head, dog.
Pay your bills
Look
contest.
at both these packs and a paper with no fucking glue. I'm gonna contact the Rizla company over this shit.
We want to look after that.
So as long as you keep paying bills, we keep paying them.
I appreciate it. You guys are doing so much for people. You don't understand.
You don't
Have your
understand.
remote pay your bills by uploading a photo of your bill to chfi.com.
We are halfway between the mayor speaking and the premier speaking, and I'm just talking shit.
On 98.1 CHFI.
Forgive me for not keeping
As you
track
heard
of any
earlier
regular
when we
viewers. I
had
don't
a
keep
live
track. I'm sorry. I
interview
recognize
with,
your names in the
Mayor
chat.
John
sometimes.
Tory, again, answering the questions that you, the 680 News listener, had submitted. There are reports
When you
circulating
use
that
this last
the NBA
paper that I
could
know is
reopen
gonna
its
burn
practice
sideways,
facilities in some
really.
cities where lockdown measures are easing. 680's
This
Joey Keeney has that story.
The reports come from NBA
This one
insider
did
and
not
ESPN
burn sideways.
reporter Adrian Wojnarowski. Sources told him
This
in
will
states
become
and municipalities that
a
are loosening
spare
pandemic
extra
restrictions,
roller
players will be able to return to gyms and NBA facilities for individual workouts starting this Friday. They will not be allowed to have group or team training until the threat of COVID-19 is
Bye,
removed further.
team, man.
According to the same
I
report,
gotta
the
work
NBA
out with
will be
my
looking for
brethren and feel
alternative
them sweat
accommodations to
droplets
keep their
hitting me in the
players
face
working
off his
out in areas
ass.
where pandemic
What's wrong
restrictions
with you
are still
almost?
stringent. And the same sources say that
No
this move does
homos. You all
not
do
mean
gay
the
for
NBA
pay,
will be
then
looking to
professional
resume the regular
athleticism.
season
Get the
anytime
fuck
soon.
out of here, man.
Some league general managers told ESPN
You
that they
know,
are
because you used to
concerned that the
cruise
decision
around
to
trying to pick
reopen
up the
practice
basketball players
facilities
who told you to
will
fuck off,
increase
we
the
didn't need
safety
your money,
risk of
eh?
their players, specifically because health officials in North
Queen
America
dick,
have told
motherfucker.
businesses to remain closed. I'm Joey Keeney.
Still ahead on
Witnesses,
680 News, the weekend business report up next. 680 News Time, 11:25.
As an
I can't light
essential
my
service,
cigarette yet 'cause I only got
Roto-Rooter
one.
wants
Hold
you to
on.
know that they
Everything
remain
ordered
ready
here.
to help you with
Motherfucker.
any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs. Thank you for understanding as they take preventative measures to ensure
Oh,
everyone's
we're
health
gonna get
is a
back
top
into what the
priority.
trade pound is.
Contact them
The
at
heroin and opium come out of
roto-rooter.com.
Laos and Burma, Myanmar, to China, to the British, Hong Kong, to China, and that money coming back to buy slaves from Africa to dump on South America and North America. Oh, it's a big circle. It's not a circle trade, it's a figure eight.
Join us for this historic national event. Bringing the
Trust me, you think I'm confused? I'm not confused. I know what happened.
Stronger together.
Explaining it's not easy, but I know what happened.
COVID-19 relief.
You think I got hair like this? Every fucking day I wake up looking at this. You think I didn't ask God what's going on? Listen, little man, you aren't what you look like. I can tell.
26. Time now for the weekend business report.
I'm Richard Dedman. Wireless network quality in Canada remains a tight competition among the big three telecoms, with
Rogers Wireless owns this
14,000
station.
people. Adrian Chung, Director of Technology, Media and Telecom Intelligence at JD Power Canada, says network quality is the top factor in wireless customer loyalty.
When we
Network quality
put
is not a
together the
thing.
entire view of customers in terms of ownership experience, network quality is the most important driver.
What is network
And we
quality,
see
bro?
that
Is it
in
digital or
terms
not?
of behavior. So in
Is it
terms
digital
of,
or it's
customers
not?
who considered switching or didn't in fact
Hey,
make a
JD
decision to
Power,
switch carriers, that was the
Rogers
main reason for their
Telecommunications,
selection.
watch
We
this.
also see very strong ties to loyalty associated with network quality.
In fact, the JD Power research finds
I got a wholesale
98%
rate.
left their carrier in the past
But I can
year
make
due to
wireless
network
calls, bro.
issues measured as problems
Think
per
about that.
100
I'm in the
connections.
wireless business now too, eh? 25 cents. 10 cents. Make a donation. 5 cent token donation, make a phone call. Hey.
Rogers and TELUS are tied
This
in
block
Ontario
is it's
8.
Richie
Those
Wireless,
differences
okay?
are larger than they seem.
One or two
I'll
problems per
smash
one
out all
could
your
be
cell
considered
antennas, bro.
significant, given the limited time frame. We're looking like at 48 hours from when they took the survey, and the number of subscribers, that's represented by this sample is quite large. So,
Oh,
that 1 point, the one extra
People with
problem
cell
is being
phones don't
experienced
answer
by,
questions over the cell phone, eh?
customers,
Hey, can I ask you about your cell
make a
phone?
difference.
JD Power found wireless patterns
Sure.
are relatively unchanged from a year earlier, led by texting, app usage.
Did you ever
and
answer a
distant
question off a
phone
cell phone? You
calls.
didn't know who
The
was
survey
there?
was done just before
Where are
the
you?
large
At
surge in
McDonald's. Who's
pandemic-related
this?
measures, but Chung sees a
Quick.
takeaway.
You don't answer. You don't really answer.
Carriers to continue demonstrating and reinforcing their commitments on the reliability standpoint.
Adrian Chung with JD Power Canada. Rogers is the parent of this station. In the Business Center, I'm Richard Dedman.
The numbers are staggering. In Canada, on average, 2 employees are
Yeah,
killed
well,
every day
a
in
fucking
work-related
slave trader that
incidents.
made
Many
niggers
more
was
injured
the
or
man, was
become
the
sick
parent
from
of
hazardous
this fucking little
substances. Bill
bastard.
Rights
So,
Local 2309 points out that
I know what that
April
does
28th
to you
is the International
psychologically.
Day of Mourning, a day for unions, workers, and their families.
You people don't
and friends to
behave in
remember
business.
those
I know you
killed or
don't.
injured. On April 28th, let's pause to remember those lost or hurt while working and commit to a safer workplace. A message from Bill Rights Local 2309.
You don't usually compress weed in Canada, not on purpose, but I figured out how. Drive over it with a truck.
Home lottery is in 5 days. Don't miss our world famous $1.5 million early bird prize. A stunning Kawartha.
The most you'll ever see it compressed is if somebody's trying to jam the last little bit in a bag and they sort of squeeze it.
All this could be yours.
That's it all squeezed together, man.
$30,000 cash. Don't wait. The early bird
I like my
deadline is
urge
in
to
5
breathe,
days.
brethren.
Tickets at PrincessBarbaraLotto.com. Number one for news.
680 News Time, 11:29. You're listening
Override.
to CTFR. You're listening to 680 News.
CFTR.
And right now it is mostly cloudy outside our studio and 11 degrees. This is CFTR AM Toronto. And thank you so much for listening. You can listen 3, 4,
When in
5
doubt,
times a day
default
and
to the
always
weather,
be
date,
in
and
the know.
time.
And you can
Call
listen
letters, call sign.
to us on your smart speaker, phone, or HD radio over at 680news.com.
The question is, why did they override
680
that
News
day?
Time, 11:30.
You hear the government beep, the military beep?
For news in Toronto. This is 680
Even when they override the signal, they still get that military beep. It will never stop beeping. If that stops beeping, Canada is done, and I'm going crazy on
Here's
your
what's making
asses.
news this
As long
hour.
as I hear that beep, I know everything okay. Dead air for 30 minutes, and that beep will keep me calm.
Joins 680 News for an exclusive interview to discuss the city's response to the pandemic.
The world still doesn't know if it's possible to catch COVID-19 twice, and Canada says their
Well, I've
strategy to
already answered the
reopen the
question.
economy
You don't
won't
catch it
hinge
twice.
on immunity.
Any
If you
virologist.
hear
Virologist.
Tomorrow morning, a fleet of NORAD fighter jets will be conducting training exercises over GTA airspace.
Here's your chance to see your city councilor's home office. Toronto
What?
City
Did
Council
I
will
not
meet
say this was
coming
a military?
Thursday
Oh, there's going to be
online
fighter
for the
jets.
first time
Yes,
because
normal.
of physical distancing.
Yep,
The
it's normal.
NBA is hopeful of
It's normal.
reopening
It's
some of their
normal in the
practice
GTA.
facilities, according to ESPN, as the San Francisco 49ers have a busy
I've
final
seen
day at
VTOL
Cavs
planes
Sports
take off from
45.
fucking Pearson,
coming up
and
in
nothing
business,
mentioned on the
Canadian
military
visitors to
airport.
telematics to help them save
Nothing
money on
mentioned.
their auto insurance during the coronavirus
Straight up in the
pandemic.
air.
We'll hear from an
The
expert on
fuck?
how it can help lower rates
No
down the
mention
road.
as to what it was.
680 News Time, 11:31.
And it's time for traffic and weather together on the ones with Toronto's most frequent traffic reports. Here's Zach Bodenstein. This report brought to you by City TV. We're looking at construction westbound Britannia, northbound.
Can you just tell us where Premier Ford's Cadillac
Escalade
is right now? Is it in Rexdale? Is it in Etobicoke?
Ramps to the east 407.
He's stuck in Richmond too, and he can't get out. Can you please just tell us?
Watch out for construction. 5 right lanes are blocked from east of Yonge to east to the 404, which means only 1 left lane is open. The ramps to Leslie and the 404, those are shut down as a result of that construction. Elsewhere, pretty uneventful, but there is road work on the
know that expression, stay in your lane.
3 left lanes to the age.
You gotta remember, it comes from a place where there's a lot more than 3 lanes.
There, you're also going to find a ramp shut down northbound
It's
Allen.
not nearly as much of a command of what to do as it sounds like.
Express. Get the latest news affecting our community every night on City News at 6 and 11, only on City TV. With the forecast, here's Carl Lamb. And temperatures today headed up to 13 degrees,
you're
so
paying the
still
bad
just
guys
shy
to,
of that seasonal
you don't
average,
own
but
City
at least
TV,
it's not
you
that
don't
cold.
own the city no more.
And we do have a pretty gusty northeasterly wind, though, so it is going to
Hey, you quit while you're ahead. That was a good move.
And we do have
That
a
was
chance
a,
for
I
some
learned
more showers
everything about
to
drug
roll
dealing
in
from
the
you,
afternoon,
Moses.
but then we'll get some clearing.
You got to deliver the last mile. That's the hardest part, the last mile. And all the stupid little things that make people change the channel, you can't allow them to happen. Yes, I have a rolling paper. Yes, I have a piece of a cigarette for you. You know what? I don't have a lighter, but I'll give you these matches.
We got the answers. Mayor John Tory took a few moments out of his weekend, joining us live to discuss the city's ongoing efforts to stop
What's that? You need a certain amount of money, but you also want some meat. You don't have to. I have to.
With more on what he had to say. Mike.
$5 bill. And the rest in weed plus 1 cigarette.
For a lot
I
of
can do that.
Torontonians right now
Moses,
is
Simon,
what
you
needs to
taught me how
happen
to
in
keep
order to
people
reopen the city
happy.
and who will be leading those discussions.
The parameters will be set by the health people because this is a health problem, a pandemic, and I think we'll know more about the kinds of parameters they're setting as to when we can start looking at implementing the plans we're making to reopen the city this week.
Oh, this is my 10th
And
day with
once
no
the city
symptoms.
does reopen, Mayor Tory does say that not to expect things to return to normal right away, and that many workers who
Was
can't
anything
work from
normal
home
in Toronto?
will be expected to continue to do
Hey,
so.
New York, you know what we're talking. If you from New York, but you've been to Toronto, you know what we're talking about. We got the same crazy people. They go back and forth, don't they?
But rather you will have some kind of gradual return to work. So you may see people continuing to work from home for that reason.
And also reports this morning surfacing that NBA
What do you
teams
know? I'm a
in
pizza
cities
delivery
where it
guy.
is permitted
I work from home.
could potentially return
What?
to their practice gyms later this week. So how will that affect the defending NBA champion Raptors?
What we don't want to see happen, although health has to come
Guys
first
with
to
the
see our
camo
team put at a
uniforms,
disadvantage.
The
And when we
15,
want them to get
15,
back on the court
15 in
as soon as it is,
2015.
acceptable for them to do so and to get back to winning the NBA championship again.
Canadian
So, those are
Forces
discussions that have
jerseys,
been,
you know what I'm talking
but
about,
they're at the very,
nigga,
very
no?
preliminary stage because the news just came out.
Militant,
The full interview with Mayor John Tory will be available at 680news.com. I'm Mike Leach.
What do you mean a full interview?
News
We
Time
ran for 10 minutes, right?
11:34.
15
Premier
minutes?
Doug Ford is blasting the actions of anti-lockdown protesters who gathered outside Queen's Park this weekend, calling
was
them
busy hauling
yahoos,
garbage,
saying their
Mr.
actions
Ford,
could
Mr.
impact
Ford.
healthcare workers at hospitals
Mr.
just
Ford.
down the road. 437 new cases of COVID-19 were confirmed today in this province, with more than 12,000 tests completed.
I don't know, this tobacco's
suggesting that
slightly
physical
lighter.
distancing efforts are working. 680 Stuart McGinn
Blanche
joins us live
Blanche.
with the latest details. Stuart.
Faster, we might be slowly starting to see improvements, but the research into COVID-19 is still in the very early stages. So much so that scientists don't know if it's possible to contract the virus a second time or if we can build immunity to it on our own.
We don't know when.
It's not a one or the other!
Response might be reached.
When you are infected with a virus, if one cell in your body is infected with the virus, all it is a DNA strand covered in spiky bits of protein. There is no living cell around this DNA strand. Okay, looks to me like maybe once upon a time evolutionary there was, and then it died and collapsed around. But that's just what I think. Anyway, once the DNA is in your living cell, it reproduces like a photocopier or a virus. A computer virus, that's where they got the fucking term from. It reproduces like a photocopier. If you don't know what that is, go to the library, look around at some books, grab one, go up to the lady that works there and say, hey, none of this exists anymore because of the virus. So, and say, hey, I need a copy of this. She's going to say, how many do you need? Say 1,000. She's going to laugh. Okay, say, okay, I only need 10. She's going to show you a machine that'll spit out all the fucking copies you want. The machine is going to have a sign that says, it's illegal for you to do this. unless you get permission, but we aren't responsible for getting permission. And you're going to do it anyway. Now, as long as this virus is reproducing in your system, the term is shedding live virus, okay? You're shedding live virus. Although it's within your own body, you're not shedding it. Those viruses, those viral DNA strands are going around your body, getting into new cells over and over. Or the cells are splitting, mitosis, and they both already have it inside of it. Okay, your white blood cells, your antibodies will fight it off as best as it can. It'll get the viral count so low that you will test negative for it, and you will test negative for antibodies. This goes for any virus, as well as tuberculosis, which is a bacteria. Okay. At that point, if your immune system is compromised, like mine is, and it encounters any stress, such as another virus or some sort of bacterial infection, the viral count will go back up. You did not get reinfected, but you are contagious again, regardless of symptoms. Symptoms means nothing. There's no symptoms for HIV. All of a sudden, you need to have symptoms for a disease. Every other disease on the planet, no symptoms. This one, oh, well, I don't have symptoms, so I'm okay. So I'm going to let my kids play with dog shit and then go visit grandma at the old age home. And if they don't let me in, I'm going to scream and shout and spit at the cops and go on a protest. This is what you fucking idiots are doing. You will never beat this virus. Do you understand the risk that was taken when the white man spit in my face and gave me COVID? Neither one of us knew if I would beat it or not. Oh, I beat it this time. But I'll never get over it. It will come back over and fucking over. Thank you. Because B19 is niggers HIV. Oh, because white people can pass it on, but they don't suffer the symptoms. Assholes. Why you always spitting in my face? No, see, it took till this year for me to catch something like that, eh? So we know. Most of the times when you tried accidentally on purpose, not really, but sort of, kind of, like, just like you're always accidentally on purpose, gas brake, gas brake, gas brake. You're 8 feet out in the intersection pretending that you're not really doing it on purpose. I still haven't stepped off the curb. It's the same shit, bro. It's the same fucking shit.
38. It could be the first of many. Toronto City Council is meeting on Thursday, but City Hall will be empty as councillors
You will never get over the virus. We need Siberian ginseng, royal jelly, which has
Many of us have
hexadecianoic
relied on Zoom,
acid
Skype,
10.
and other group chat apps to connect with our family,
Vitamin
friends,
C.
and work because of physical distancing. Mayor John Tory tells me Toronto City councillors will be using Cisco WebEx technology for their meeting.
Everybody will have an iPad. They will be able to indicate they want to speak, and it'll be up to the speaker, as always, to manage this bunch.
Tory says the online meeting may actually
We were doing that in 2002 with MSN, bro.
From the GTA, so I had them together for a meeting. They said actually the meeting.
Round table, round
people
table.
for some reason speak more briefly.
You can steal this idea if you want, but you will never take credit for it. The
council
feather.
meeting will be live
Only
streamed
one
as
person
usual
talks at a
for the
time.
public on the
That's
Toronto
not what they
Council
just set
YouTube
up.
channel.
What they just
At
set up
City
is
Hall
the
on Kevin
speaker
Meister.
selecting that you can talk. The feather. I get to pass that token to whoever I want to speak next. And only the person with the feather gets to
Sounds up
speak.
to the 680 News
How
gas
come none of
price
you
update.
people have
Input
looked
predicts
this up on a
the price of gas
computer,
will not change at
video
midnight.
chat
It will
system yet?
hold at just under
Why?
83 cents a liter.
Oh, well,
at
we
most
can't do it like
GTA
Indians.
stations.
We
Also,
copy
heads up
everything
if
from
you
the
are
Indians,
riding
but
the
we can't
road
let them
today,
know.
There is no subway service on the young portion of Line 1 between Shepherd Young and St. Clair stations because of track work. Shuttle
So we
buses
can
are
deduce
running.
line 1 must be
680
Young
News
Street.
time, 11:40.
Remember when they said saying line 1, line 2, line 3 would save time? And now they have to say line 1, Young University Spadina, line 2, Bloor Danforth, and so on and so forth.
Will travel
You ain't
across
saved
Canada
nothing.
meet different
In fact,
odds?
I think I
Learn about
just
the dreams,
made the
what
problem
happens
worse
if
because I think I just
COVID-19
inverted the names
shut
and
down our
numbers.
economy. Paul Ambrose, a partner at HealthHubSolutions.ca. They want to put the future of healthcare in the patient's hands. But with COVID-19, no one can focus on the future. Does HealthHub and Paul have the financing resilience to wait it out? Our experts weigh
Bradford,
in.
USA, Eddie Mash, Pembroke,
Download Traffic
Ontario.
Canada wherever
Thank
you get your
you.
podcasts. And thanks again to RBC for your support of Small Business Matters.
You join the army and you get to learn forestry and then you make matches, I guess. Oh yeah, me burning off these matches is preventing forest fires. Because Donald Trump was right. Didn't the scientists come out and say he was right? There's biomass all over California for no reason. Filling all the gaps between the trees.
And this traffic report
We
is
turned them into
brought to
matches
you
and
by
use them.
Canadians Women's
forest
Foundation.
fire.
We're looking at a pretty easy drive, although there is some construction, mostly affecting the eastbound 407. So there's no access to that route from West Britannia, northbound Bramalea,
You go check.
northbound
It's
Young,
going
north or
right.
south Bayview. All because of road
nose
work
is
that's
not
happening
fucked up
on the
and clogged
highway
up.
itself. Only one left lane able to get by from east of Young to east of the 404, the Ranch to Leslie.
A little bit of white filmy stuff, little tiny trace of white filmy stuff, but God only knows that could be normal.
By anything. You'll find that smooth northbound Allen ramp to the west 401. And
Jesus fucking Christ, eh?
Express. Eastbound 401's a smooth drive. We don't have much else happening. We
That's a
have the
curse word to
400
me, not a
DVP
prayer.
in solid
Hey,
shape. Same
I
thing
know
with
you
the
could
QV
burn me
Gardner
over. I
northbound
get burnt
404.
about 6
Just
times a
watch out
day.
for
I don't
construction
mention it.
as you make your way through just the 407 to north of it, past Highway
Why
7.
mention it?
HOV and 3 left lanes are
This
blocked.
never
Lots of
touched
different crews
this.
have pulled up. It might be
There's
clear
gonna
that
be a blister in a
construction
second,
soon, but
believe it or
as I
not.
mentioned, it really
Never
has slowed down at
touched
this
it.
time.
There will be a
Violence
blister.
at
Why?
home is up, financial stability is down, and services are struggling to meet needs.
Stability,
Support
right.
women and
Stick with the
girls through
coins.
COVID-19. Visit CanadianWomen.org.
Use
to
the
help
bank notes
with
to
the
pay
forecast.
bank
Here's
balances.
Carl Lamb.
Use the coins to conduct economic activity. They're not the same thing. Coins do not go to the bank except as a last resort.
Days with a strong breeze, but also some
You
rain
can pay
showers
your bills and your taxes
sporadic
with them,
throughout
but
the
you shouldn't.
day, and they're not very organized. They're just trying to inch their way into the downtown core, but we are seeing a little more rain in areas like Ajax and Pickering right
What's
now,
a,
over towards Whitby. So,
you just tell me the
that
weather
will be
is intelligent,
a little
bro?
bit of a nuisance for us today. 13's a guaranteed high. We dropped down to 3 tonight,
A
12
nuisance.
tomorrow. A little bit
Gretchen,
drier.
let me fill
We do
you
have a
in.
chance
Every
for
time
some
you talk
isolated
about Mother
showers,
Nature
but
like a
it's more
nuisance, she goes,
clouds than
oh,
sun to deal with.
nuisance,
Right now,
eh?
it's 11 at Pearson,
Have
11
a
at
bat
680 News.
burger,
Today's guaranteed
motherfucker.
high 13.
Enjoy that meal.
680 News Time, 11:43.
A marketing company is making a generous offer to adopt a business through the pandemic.
We're not a
I
restaurant.
did.
We're not a garment company. There's not a lot we can do to kind of help on the healthcare front.
That's Marty Fisher, the president
You
of
can
Sherpa
come up with
Marketing,
cool
who said
lingo,
they want to help small
lingo,
businesses that have been hit hard by COVID-19.
But the one thing that we've acutely felt ourselves is dramatic reduction in budget for marketing dollars.
They're
Oh,
offering to
shit.
provide $25,000 worth of marketing, from video to coding to website design. All a business has to do is go to their website, sherpamarketing.ca, fill out a form
Sherpa.
showing their top line revenue is below $100,000 and that they suffered significant losses during the pandemic. The company is alone
Sherpas
in their
die
endeavors.
in the normal
Fisher
course of
says
their
others have
work.
joined them in a campaign with more to come.
The
I'm
man that
Steve
named his
Don.
company
680
that is
News Time,
aware of that.
44.
Eh? That's some good marketing right there, eh? That might be worth checking out, eh? Donate your buddy's shit today.
Donate online at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K. Pick up is quick and easy. You'll benefit
Donate
child
your
and get a
buddy's
maximum
crap
tax
today,
credit.
because he drinks the good beer, brings the shitty beer. He always smokes your good weed, brings you that crappy weed.
Introducing
He's being a prick, so we're gonna teach him a lesson. That car's only worth $100. We're gonna give it to the cancer
Up to
patients.
14-foot reach and a high contrast DuPont Mylar.
What are you complaining about? You've been driving without a license for 2 years, buddy. Don't talk about COVID. Where's your church sticker, buddy? Shut up.
With your job in mind, new Irwin Command Lock tapes built for the trade.
Well, you want to go, you want your car back, you go beat up them cancer kids out of their wheelchairs and turn their wheelchair back into a car, buddy. Fuck you.
This is All News Radio, 680 News.
You just gotta find the right guy's shit to donate. Right guy. Like, you know, the snowmobile that should be worth 30 grand, but he tried to fix the injector himself or whatever.
Breaking news right now.
Don't expect things to return to normal right away, and don't expect to work from anywhere other than your home office for the foreseeable future. Just a
Oh,
couple of topics
welcome to New
discussed.
Detroit.
Mayor John Tory
Soho
hosted
district of
interview
New Detroit,
on
in the
680
downtown of
News
Manhattan,
this
New
hour.
Detroit, North,
If you missed it,
South
we'll have the
Central
full thing
Ontario,
posted
where the fuck we are now. We're all reach out and touch someone.
Of the more than 12,000 COVID-19 tests completed in the past day, 437 new cases were confirmed, marking a 3% increase over the previous day. 24
I swear that's a white girl's hair. I swear that's a white girl's hair.
The death toll has now reached
I don't know what the fuck you want.
But of the 14,432
you playing some voodoo things on me.
8,000 or more than 55% are considered resolved. And actors Ryan Reynolds, Mike Myers, and Catherine O'Hara, singers Justin Bieber, Alessia Cara, and Anne Murray, even athletes like Serge Ibaka and Haley Wickenheiser will be taking part in tonight's Stronger Together benefit to raise money for Food Banks Canada. It airs live on City at 7:30. Time now for 680 Sports, and from Sportsnet 590 The Fan, here's Rob Wong.
According to ESPN,
everything I need to know about drug dealing, watching City TV.
The NBA is allowing teams to open their
Not the movies.
facilities to players in cities and
I paid
states
attention
where
to how
local
they ran that
governments have
TV
eased
station.
stay-at-home orders. However, Woj adds this doesn't mean a resumption of the season is imminent. The NBA is still unsure on if and when it can play again, but getting players safely into gyms was a priority. The Buffalo Bills already have a starting quarterback in Josh Allen, but they added some insurance, taking Georgia quarterback Jake Fromm in the 5th round of the NFL draft. The San Francisco 49ers were busy on the trade front, acquiring Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams from Washington for a pair of draft picks. They also dealt wide receiver Marquise Goodwin to Philadelphia for a pick, and traded running back Matt Breida to Miami for a 5th round selection. And coming up, some classic playoff matchups at 7. It's game 2 of the Battle of Alberta from the NBA playoffs. At 8 o'clock, it's game 2 of the 89 Cup final between Montreal and Calgary. Then at 10, we watch game 3 of the 2011 playoff series between Vancouver and Chicago.
I can't turn it all the way off, because if I do, I won't hear it when it starts, right?
Always talking about money. You ain't rich, dude. Your fancy cars don't impress me. I think they're done that fair.
We don't bang, work family.
Walter was a crackhead, always a crackhead. Remember when you owe money to those Asian guys, they more real. You're lucky, they from the 90s and they know me. You trying to shoot you with a 12-gauge shot, that's what you told me. I came to Montreal to sleep to beat you. Never judge you for smoking hard, told you I used to sell that. That's crap, your family member. Nowadays, you finally change, you're acting insane. Always talking about money. You ain't rich, dude. Your fancy cars don't impress me. I think they're done that. Fairfax, ruckus like Carlito, the way your niggas is fake. My cousin Liz is a fool. Didn't come when we invited you. Fuck you. Think you're the hardest. But when you actually the weakest.
Family problems, we don't have to solve them. After weeks in lockdown due to the pandemic,
Israel
is drawing praise from small business owners,
new
but health
shekel
officials
coins.
warning the
New
country
shekels,
needs
for
more
real.
widespread testing.
Israel's prime minister allowing all stores outside malls to reopen. That
They're easier to
includes
get
hair salons
than the
and
Nazi
beauty
money,
parlors.
because I've never
Benjamin
seen the Nazi
Netanyahu coming
ones.
under intense pressure here as the unemployment rate soars to a staggering 27%. Some senior members of his COVID-19 task force are nonetheless warning the step is
Can you
premature.
explain how you're
Israel has
all
not significantly
fair skinned,
boosted
blonde haired, and
testing,
blue
a deal with
eyed,
China
and
to
how
do
you all
30,000
showed up at the
tests a
same
day will
time as all
only
those
begin
soldiers
in
disappeared
mid to
from
late
Germany?
May.
Can you
Jordana
explain
Miller,
that?
ABC
No.
News, Jerusalem.
You didn't run to Brazil or
Stateside, after
Argentina.
a
You went
much
to Israel.
discussed
I
appearance
know.
on CNN last week, Las Vegas
It's like
Mayor
the
Carolyn
Indian
Goodman
posse,
continues
PK
to urge
posse
the
killer
community
with the
to
Parkdale
restart her
posse
city's
killer.
economy.
Oh,
This despite a
that's why it's two
bottom-line
different
state
fucking hand signs for PK.
order that
Oh,
remains
that
in
was a
effect
neat
until
little
April
tricky.
30th. While some
Neat little
residents of
tricky.
Sin City are
Last
eager
place
to
I'm
get
gonna
back
look
to
for
work,
is my
others are
neighborhood.
not
You're
so
right.
sure.
You're right. That was a good move. Where are you now, pussy?
She's mighty hungry, mighty greedy, and she's not concerned about being alive.
And this president also says Mayor Goodman does not speak for the majority of the community in Las Vegas. Well, Netflix is doing well these days. The company says it had nearly 183
I think the
million paid
casino's smart enough to know
globally
when
at
to
the end
shut
of
the
first
doors
quarter.
for a few weeks.
What is everyone
Hey,
watching?
Hurricane
680's
Katrina.
Lucas Castellano takes a look.
Yeah,
With all of
sometimes
us
it's good to
staying
shut the
inside,
doors
well,
and just air the
almost
place
all
out
of
a
us,
bit, you know?
what is keeping us entertained on Netflix these days? Well, it comes
You know,
down to
check
two
every
wildly
machine.
popular 2020 releases. Tiger King and Love is Blind.
Ladies and gentlemen, before you hear it on the news, I'm going to tell you myself. About an hour ago, we had an incident where one of the employees stuck their arm through the cage and a tiger tore her arm off. I can give you your money back, or I can give you a rain check.
Remarkably, Tiger King is already generated
I'll pay you double. I'll pay you double. I'll pay you double, dog.
To put that into perspective, the limited series was released to Netflix on April 3rd. For its part, Love is Blind
was that a TV show?
30 million viewers to date, proving that most of us want to turn our brains off during the pandemic.
Because watching videos is turning your brain off.
Lucas Castellano. 680 News Time, 11:51.
You know how that makes all the people feel that recorded all those films in World War II? World War II is the best documented war ever.
This report brought to you by Hire the Gardener.
It shows you things you won't find from other wars because they captured it on film. Some of it's in color, originally in color.
In the York region, which is affecting things. Northbound
You got audio recordings of Churchill. You got audio recordings and home videos of your family, your great-grandmother. No, you don't.
Due east to the 404s, the ramps to Leslie,
This
and the
fat
404 shut down.
and Stalin
West on the
and
407,
Eisenhower
nothing to worry about
sitting
at this
in chat.
point. Northbound Allen ramps
It's a
to the
whole
West
fucking
401, the
movie or
collectors
some
shut down
shit.
for the long term. The
Jesus
express ramp's still
Stalin.
open.
Hold
Eastbound
on a second.
401 in solid shape.
Wasn't he trying
Northbound
to kill your
404,
ass 6
just
months
as
earlier?
HOB in 3 left lanes.
You're not really
block from
allies.
the 407 to north of Highway 7. Looking at the camera right now, there's no delay as you travel through that single
Looking
lane
at the
this
camera
point.
right
Down
now.
Valley Parkway is in good
That's
shape.
a sentence
Nothing
here,
really doing
Trouble.
on the
Looking at the
400 either.
camera
Keep
right
the
now.
gardener is
Looking at the
moving
camera
well.
right now.
Yes, you can still hire the gardener to keep
What
your
you
yard
doing?
green, and no, you don't have to
target
come
dogs.
near them. Look at all the
Mouse
things
again.
the gardener can do for your yard and hire the
You
gardener.
do it. Looking at the camera right now, man.
Your next report's with Christine Langos at 12:01, and right now, here's your forecast with Carl Lamb.
Thanks, Zach. And temperatures today, they're headed up to 13
Where's
degrees.
the
That's our
premier?
guaranteed high. We do have some rain showers in the downtown core, and it looks like also from Scarborough over towards Ajax and Pickering, Oshawa, Whitby, and further east, we're seeing that rain as well. So it's an on and off type of variety day with rain showers and a strong northeasterly wind. 14 again the high, down to 3 tonight, 12 for tomorrow. More clouds than any sunny breaks, so a decent day, but we may have a few isolated showers popping up. And then for Tuesday, partly sunny and 11 degrees. And then, oh boy, a wet and wild Wednesday. We have a lot of rain coming and really strong winds as well. On Wednesday of 12 degrees. Your next forecast is at 12:01 with Jason Fraser. Right now it's 11 at Pearson, 11 at 680 News. Today's guaranteed high 13.
Your home is more than just a place to live. It's your window of opportunity. With a home equity loan from Capital Direct, your home can provide valuable equities that will give you the freedom to complete those renovations, support your business, or simply get your debt in line. An easy call to 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL will open the doors to all the good things you thought were beyond your reach as a homeowner. So pick up the phone.
Homeowner? I'm barely a homemaker, motherfucker. I barely live here. This is just a recycling depot. I sleep over there between the aluminum cans and the busted glass. Oh.
We'll have a summary coming up. Also, 8,000 Ontarians have now recovered from COVID-19.
That's a summary. It's like a synopsis.
Of the province's confirmed cases. However,
no, I don't want to cut them off. Not a
new
synopsis.
cases confirmed
That's
and more Ontarians are dying of the virus. Our Michelle Mackey will have more on that. And some of the biggest names in Canadian show business will come together tonight to distract Canadians stuck at home and raise money for our food banks. That's all coming up on your afternoon show at 12 o'clock.
Keeping your family safe.
I know I just said about this thing tying a knot. In reality, it actually doesn't really tangle. It will correct itself on its own.
680news.com.
I think twice now I found it tied in a fucking knot somehow. What the fuck? Remember, I can unhook this link and just pop it up. Do I do that? No, I'm fucking fiddling with it, untying the chain from the chain. Because I'm stubborn, because I'm Dutch and Scottish.
In the finale, Claire Danes' Kerry Matheson has to make a deadly decision, and Maurice Sterling, who played surveillance expert Max on most seasons of the show, tells us Homeland was a game changer for television because it kept
pushing the limits. There is a willingness to sort of break all the rules where your heroine is not perfect. They're not trying to make
my heroine is perfect, bro.
The Emmy for Best Drama. In the first season, Claire Danes won twice for Best Drama Actress.
All the heroin I have is perfectly pure, all of it.
Golden Globe for Best
See it
TV
all?
Series in
Pure. So
2011
pure, you can see right through it, bro.
2012. Your business report is 1 minute away. 680 News Time, 11:55.
This coin was issued in 65. It's a quarter-pound coin. Weighs exactly 28 grams. That's a U.S. ounce. Because the real ounce is 28.35. But a drug dealer ounce, I should call it. A U.S. ounce, pretty close. 65. So when did so we had Korea in the 50s, Vietnam in the 60s, America, the CIA front company. What we call a Crown Corporation, they call a CIA front company. Oh shit! Was I not just reading about Ontario Crown Corporation? Not federal, provincial Crown Corporations. Okay, hold on.
And providing all Canadians with the essential services they need to get through this.
Air Canada said we're going to switch to cargo-only flights. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, some shit.
You're doing your part.
Cargo-only flights. And they fired all the 1,200. Was it 1,200? Fucking, it's 1,200 bus drivers, 1,200 fucking.
Visit intech.ca or talk to your broker.
Stewardesses, whatever the fuck, flight attendants, there we go. You attended a flight? I went on a flight. You attended a flight. I went on a flight. I got off again.
During the coronavirus pandemic, or we might take them out for a quick spin to get
Air
essentials.
Canada duffel bags, 10 kilos in each one, and every middle seat.
Save some money on our
And a stewardess on each side. I'm sure of it, brethren, because they just got the money from the feds to pay the wages, and they hired it when nobody's flying. But they're doing cargo-only flights. Why? FedEx is the world's biggest airline. They don't have a single passenger seat on any of their planes.
Director of Insurance at RateHub.ca says, for the insurance companies
Remember
that
Air
do offer
America
telematics,
or Air Canada?
they're tracking
Don't touch
a
that, or
number
we'll
of
shoot
driving
you. U.S. Army protected. Imagine that. What the
in regards
fuck?
to the recommended speed limit, the way you brake, the way you handle corners, the distances you're driving on the trips you're taking, and the time of day you're driving. And they develop a score. And they take that score and they rate it against their discount chart. And we'll say, okay, let's say, for example, you get an 80% of your driving.
Winston Churchill would have never approved of the sale of drugs to fund this shit.
Information you get from
But
telematics can
they
also
did
just help your
approve the use
case
of
when you're trying to
amphetamine.
negotiate a lower rate.
Not Pervitin, methamphetamine, hydrochloride, amphetamine, so the soldiers could sleep at night, even though the Nazis couldn't, the British could. That's why the U.S. Air Force giving methamphetamine to their pilots ain't nothing new. We've been doing it since the
With
40s,
the coronavirus
30s.
pandemic causing financial hardship for many Canadians, Hans
Might as well
says
say
it's
the
important to
30s.
find out how your auto insurance can work for you.
Having a 10% discount, maybe
30s. Methamphetamine in the 30s? This ain't nothing new. Oh, you thought whiskey from Canada. The cigarettes from Canada.
Option and available discounts they're giving to their customers as more information becomes available.
Matt Hans is the director of insurance
We
at
make money in bad
RateHub.ca.
times, we make money
At
in
the
good
Business Center,
times. Whose economy did good after the war? Out of participants was only the U.S. and Canada.
The jobs my wife gave me now that I'm home.
Was cleaning up the yard with an Echo PB2520 handheld blower one of them? Because it should be.
I wish. Could have blown away all the kids' toys in the yard.
Probably. But this Echo blower works best blowing leaves, pine needles, sticks, and debris. We have it in stock.
Pine
right
needles
now.
clog
It's
up
on
the
sale for
sewers like
$199.95.
nothing, Reggie. They don't rot.
The blower right to your door. Or picking up gas stuff at Coy Brothers.
KOOY-BROS.com.
Some about pine needles, some about that. They don't rot in a conventional sense. Eh?
But a fighting spirit isn't enough.
You know, after Christmas, you clean up your tree, and then 3 months later, you move a chair, you go, holy fuck, pine needles. And they don't crumble up and rot. They're still green and surface bastards, ain't they?
The protective equipment provides one last assurance that it's safe to go home. Show your support at nursesknow.ona.org. A message from the Ontario Nurses Association.
Checking some regional
Oh,
weather
I'm
conditions
sorry,
this
Mr. Ford. I
hour
ripped
in
down a sign
Pickering,
instead of
drizzle,
reporting them
10
as
degrees,
price
Mississauga,
gougers.
drizzle, 10
Because
degrees.
I hadn't had my
Hamilton,
coffee
drizzle,
yet.
just 6 degrees.
They're selling NIOSH approved N95 masks, but you gotta go to some weird website address off of a sign on the side of a road planted on private property without permission. Sounds like a scam to me.
This is CFTR.
I ripped up the sign. I should have reported it.
I'm
It's too late now.
Have
I
a
guess
great afternoon. It's 12 o'clock.
we can just solve that. Out of sight, out of mind. Leave no trace.
Bad weather. This
is 680 News, Toronto.
Here are Cam Burns and Caitlin Lee.
Good afternoon. This is Sunday, the 26th of April.
Here's what's making news this hour.
Answering your questions, Mayor John Tory talks struggles for renters and how to avoid a second wave of COVID-19, promising reopening plans from the city are on their way this week.
Not everyone is happy about the temporary pandemic pay increase for frontline workers. Paramedics say they're not included.
About education, the province expected this hour. We'll carry Stephen Lecce's announcement live on 680 News.
And we're tracking reports on Kim
Yeah, but see, that's the shit I'm talking about right there. All this free money. Who doesn't get any? The paramedics. Does that make sense? The bus drivers, they just laid off. And the paramedics.
Facilities as the Buffalo Bills had a quarterback in the draft, sports at 15.
And coming up in business, many of us are working from home because of the pandemic, and it's got
I
some
work from home
wondering
because I
if the
control the
new
environment.
normal will include a return to
I
normal.
grew up in home-based businesses. We used to live in the same building where your shop was. That used to be normal.
Thank you, Kevin, Caitlin, and good afternoon. This report is
That's
brought
why
to you
this
by Roto-Rooter
recycling shit around
Emergency
here don't
Services.
bother
Well, we
me.
just have this construction going on. First of all, on the northbound 404, again today, we have this construction. It's from the 407 to north of Highway 7. They've closed off the HOV lane, and then just beyond that, you'll find the 2 left lanes, or rather the 3 left lanes are still closed, so everyone is moving over to the right. But it doesn't appear to be causing a big delay at this time. No problems on the Gardner. The QEW is looking good. Don't forget, we also have construction which has closed northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401. That's long term. And if you're traveling on the eastbound 407, you might want to know a couple of things. The westbound Britannia and northbound Bramley ramps to eastbound 407 are closed. Northbound Young, north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 closed as well. And we also have this construction eastbound 407 from east of Young to east of the 404. Only the left lane getting through. They've closed the ramp to Leslie and to the 404 as well. Roto-Rooter is fully prepared to continue to serve you in this
Fully
time.
prepared.
To help with any of
Fully.
your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs, contact them 24/7 online at rotorooter.com. Your next
You know how
report
many
is at
payphones I can
12:11.
reconnect?
And now with a look at the forecast, good
Having to look
afternoon,
for
Jason
wires,
Fraser.
tools, and nothing.
Good afternoon, Christina,
You're
and
gonna
good
fuck things up
afternoon,
later.
everybody. So right now, you're either seeing overcast skies or some light rain showers, and this is going to be pretty much the weather story for the rest of the afternoon. We could end up also seeing some winds gusting up to about 60 kilometers per hour, and we'll see a low temperature
hit
tonight
70.
right around 3 degrees, and we'll see the rain ending likely sometime between 6 and about 9 o'clock. Right now at Pearson, it's 11 degrees. The guaranteed high is 13 degrees.
It's like 82 in here.
680 News Time, 12:03.
You heard it right here this morning, an exclusive interview with Mayor John Tory answering your questions about COVID-19.
The mayor says the chances of a second wave make reopening the economy a difficult decision. 680 Stuart McGinn reports.
You're all going, oh,
It's
it's
what we've
fine
heard
now.
over
It's
and
fine
over,
now. All the
returning
people are
back to
dead
any
already.
sense of normal life
It's
needs
just
to be done
fine now.
slowly to avoid any
Now look at
possibility
the
of a
rest of the
second
world.
wave of the virus.
You suddenly said tomorrow, for example, that you could have a Blue Jays game and you could have 50,000 people at the Rogers Center. That is going to promote a second wave happening.
Answering questions from
Yeah.
680 News listeners, Mayor
Yeah,
John
that's
Tory said, we'll
very
all get a
simple
clearer
terms.
idea
Thank
in
you.
the
And
coming
you use
days
local
of how the
municipal
city will
references.
take a
Thank you, Mr.
step-by-step
Tory.
approach to recover from this pandemic. But as the struggle, mentally and financially, continues for so many, Tory spoke
Well,
specifically
$10
to a
times
typical
50,000
situation
is
for
$500,000
renters,
right
asking
there that
landlords
we
to
can
be
use in this
accommodating as we
economy,
inch
yeah?
closer towards the 1st
What's
of
all the
May.
beer
I think
and
a
hot
simple
dogs and
proposition like saying
t-shirts?
we'll allow you to take a month off your May payment or cut it in half and spread the rest of it out is a very reasonable thing.
The mayor added, it's important to think about getting comfortable with your work from home setup because there's no way we'll see the entire city get back to their normal work life all at once. I'm Stuart McGinn.
680 News Time, 12:04. More than 8,000 people have now recovered from COVID-19 in this province, but hundreds of new cases and dozens of new deaths still being reported today. So
Remember, I'm not a person under the law.
Reaction from some
I'm not.
frontline workers
Shut
left
the
out
law.
of yesterday's pay increase. She joins us live now. Good afternoon, Michelle.
Yeah, good afternoon, Cam. Well, it's not about the pay increase. It's about the lack of acknowledgement. That's
I
the
can't
message from
vote,
Dave
have
Wakely,
money,
president
hire a
of the
lawyer,
Paramedics Union.
grow
who
my
says
own food,
paramedics do not
or
qualify
leave my
for
house without
this
permission.
temporary
Am I a
pandemic
person?
pay
No.
increase.
There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to why certain folks are excluded from it. Paramedics,
Prisoner of
respiratory
war.
therapists, midwives, all of them don't seem to be covered
Internally
by
displaced
this
person.
status of frontline healthcare worker, but all of them are
Slave.
very much on the front lines of the fight against COVID.
Yesterday, Premier Ford announced the pay increase for frontline healthcare workers, including
Some would
staff
argue
working in
illegal
long-term care
combat.
homes, emergency shelters, supportive housing, and some staff in hospitals. Qualified staff will receive a $4 per hour pay increase on top of existing hourly wages. And for those working over 100 hours a month, a monthly lump sum payment of $250 for the next 16 weeks. Meantime, the Ministry of Health is reporting 437 new cases of COVID-19 in Ontario today, the lowest daily increase in more than a week. Also,
2008, 2009, the Canadian government started thinking, what would we do if we had to give all these
The problem is
motherfuckers
total
money?
case count now stands higher than 14,400, over 800 deaths, and at least 8,000 recoveries. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
680 News Time, 12:06. It's the final day for commercial flights between Canada and the U.S. Last week, Air Canada announced it was suspending service to the U.S. after both countries agreed to extend restrictions on cross-border travel for another 30 days.
Today is Clean Toronto Together, community
and the
cleanup.
U.S. was banned as of March 21st, though the border has remained open for trade and commerce. Service will resume May 22nd, barring another extension of further restrictions.
This is 680 News. While most of the focus has been on businesses amidst of the economic fallout from the pandemic,
Friday, May
religious institutions
22nd.
across Canada also feeling the financial strain. Many churches, temples, mosques, and synagogues
Why would you start
rely
on
on donations
Friday?
and rental fees to cover costs. With physical distancing restrictions preventing large gatherings, those payments have taken a dramatic hit. Several institutions have applied for the federal wage subsidy program
3
to allow
weeks
them to
and
keep
4
some
days.
staffers on
That's
their
a weird
payrolls
number of days
to
to
perform
take
virtual
off.
services, provide counsel,
25
and outreach to vulnerable members of their communities.
Police are investigating after anti-Semitic graffiti was spray painted on a garage and coffee shop downtown during Passover weekend. The garage of a home on Crawford Street near College in
I believe it.
Ossington was defaced with a tag that insinuated the Jews were to blame for the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier in the month, at a nearby Aroma espresso bar, which is part of a chain of cafes
You know,
founded
the
in Israel
Jews
in
selling those
1994, the shop
burgers
was tagged
in
with the
China.
message, quote,
Makes
Zionists are not welcome. This same Aroma location near
Oh,
College and Vassar
well,
Street was
Zionists have nothing to do with
vandalized
Jews.
with a similar hateful message just a week earlier.
Zionism
Officers
is a
condemned the hate
military
messages
tactic
and
of
say the
killing off
investigation
people
is
and taking
ongoing.
the land.
This is 680 News at
Judaism would be a
12:07.
religion.
680
They're
News
two
is
different
working
things.
for
You
you.
see how that
Getting
is?
answers to questions you
Two
may have
totally
about
different things.
COVID-19. And a question we've been getting frequently is, how bad is it if you do get
Zionism
infected?
is a different thing than an
61-year-old Wayne
infidel,
Morrison
an
from Pickering
invader, a
contracted
rapist.
COVID-19. But he's not sure where. Tells
I'm
Darren
Big
Moe
Mac.
on
I know exactly what
98.1
I'm talking about.
CHFI. It's
Oh,
scary to have the
Scottish. Oh,
disease, and there were
South
times he
African,
worried about his
Afro-Dutch.
life.
When you start getting worse, I mean, I had all the symptoms except for two, which was the heavy breathing and the sort of like heavy chest. It's almost like they describe it as a heart attack feeling. They were the only two symptoms I had to keep an eye out for. All the other symptoms I had. So yeah, you do. At times when you have the fever, you're sweating, you can't eat. Yeah, you start worrying. You think, am I going to be one of those cases?
Oh, that's what a sickle cell crisis kind of feels like, sort of, eh?
It didn't get to that.
Say it again. You can't. You're breathing and everything's all fucked up.
If you have questions, we can help answer for you. Just submit them at
Oh.
680news.com/answers
Why do I
or
go
call
through what I go
at
through? Oh, that's horrible.
416-872.
And it's extra bad because you never go through it normally. So it's worse for you to go through it once than for me to go through it every day. In your
It is
mind.
extending the closure of all schools in the province until May 31st. In a statement, the education minister says the extension was based on expert advice from the chief medical officer of health and health officials on the
Is it going
COVID-19
to restart flights on the 22nd? I don't
speak
think
in
so.
less than half an hour, and we will be carrying it live here on
an hour.
680 News. Stay tuned to 680 News for more updates.
680 News Time 1209. North Korea's Kim Jong-un hasn't been seen publicly in weeks, which is leading to speculation that he may be in poor health or even dead. 680's Joey Keeney reports.
April 11th was the last time Kim Jong-un was
Did he
seen
not record like a
publicly.
bunch of video
TMZ
messages in
citing
case he
media outlets
dies
in
or
China
something?
and Japan
No.
is reporting that he
I
is either
would've.
dead or brain dead. A Hong Kong-based news network is reporting that he is in fact dead. And a Japanese
I keep
magazine
saying
says
it
he's in a
reminds me of an
vegetative state
eggplant
with
or a
no
mushroom
chance of
or something.
recovery. Earlier this week, CNN reported
Now
Kim
he is
Jong-un was
somewhere
in quote,
between an
grave
eggplant and
danger
a
after
mushroom.
botched surgery. When asked about his condition, President Trump gave little weight to those reports.
We don't know. We don't know. I've had a very good relationship with him. I wouldn't, I can only say this. I wish him well
States president.
if he is in the kind of condition that the reports say, that the news is
I've had a very good relationship with him. Everybody in the Army just said, oh my
but I
God.
wish him well.
For definitive confirmation on Kim Jong-un's health, the world will likely have to wait until North Korea puts out a statement. I'm
Lost
Joey
his
King.
U.S. citizenship because of it, because he lied to get in the Canadian court.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day.
This is 680 News.
Time now for the 680 News gas price.
Yeah, my
update.
people is always looking for a fight. I
Didn't go
know.
anywhere at midnight, only at 82.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations. In 60
75
seconds,
over
traffic
here.
and weather together on the one.
You said it never changes on Monday, you
680
little
News
prick.
time, 12:10.
My name is Aaron Waxman.
Last week he said it never changes.
We can
Hold
take
on.
solace in the fact that those that we care about, our family,
I
our
ate
friends, and those in
yesterday
our
at
community are
Salvation
safe
Army. He said
and
it
are
was Saturday.
practicing physical
That's why I do
distancing
that.
and staying at home. At my firm, I've encouraged staff to work from
This
home.
shit here
and to
says
follow
it's
the
Sunday,
guidelines
April
to staying
26th.
safe.
Tomorrow's
I know
Monday.
these are difficult
You little
times,
prick, you said
but
it
we can
never
take this
changes on
moment to
Monday.
reflect on how much we have to be grateful for.
Tomorrow's
I wish you and
Monday,
your
you
family
little
only
bastard.
peace and good health.
Ontario, our efforts are
75
making a
cents over
difference.
here, not
Physical
83.
distancing
He
is
said it was
working,
83
but
yesterday,
we
didn't he?
can't let our guard down. We need to stay strong. To stop the
They're paying
spread,
$1.90 a
keep
gallon,
2 meter distance
US.
from those around you
No
when
shit.
making essential trips. Don't put your friends, family, and community at risk. Stay home. Stay strong. Save lives. Learn more at ontario.ca/coronavirus. Paid for by the Government of Ontario. 680 News time, 12:11.
Top traffic and weather together on the ones. Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Lowe's, and just having a look at some
Hey,
police
Tim Lawrence, can you deliver me a cigarette? No, nobody will deliver you. They'll deliver you alcohol with no card.
As well as the
You
right
cannot
lane.
get
The
cigarettes.
volume is quite light in this area, but
You
there
have
is
to
some
make like.
rain, so the roads are
It looks like a
please
drug.
turn
You go into the store, it still looks like a drug deal. Everybody's face is covered. You put the money down and slip it under the plexiglass.
We still have construction blocking the HOV
He's wearing a mask
lane and
too.
the 3
Cameras
lanes, so
everywhere.
everyone is squeezing over
Puts
to
it
the
in the
right.
drop
That wasn't a
box.
huge delay for you at
Fuck
this
it.
time. The northbound Allen ramp to westbound
Has to
401
lift
is
up the
closed
thing because
because
you're
of
not allowed to
construction.
see the product
Also, on
unless
the
he's like
407,
taking
we
it
have the
out.
ramps from westbound
Otherwise, you can't
Britannia
see
and
it.
northbound Bramble
When he puts it
closed.
down, then he
The
steps back,
northbound
and
Young
then you
and
step
north and
forwards
southbound
again.
Bayview ramps to
Keep your
eastbound
hands where you can
407
see
are
them,
closed.
man.
And from east of Young to east of the
Fucking, then
404,
you
only
take
the
it
left
and
lane
don't
is
open them and
getting
light
to
them in the
this
store.
area.
No, you have to leave and walk at least 30 feet away
And to the
before you can
404
light
also
one.
closed.
Holy
And have a look at the
shit,
401 across the GTA. That is wide open. To help you
Just
stay
have a
safe
damn
at home,
cigarette.
Lowe's is offering free parcel shipping and curbside pickup with online purchases at Lowe's.ca. Your next report is at 12:21. And now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, right now we're seeing overcast skies across the GTA, and some of you are even seeing some light rain showers as well. The winds continue to gust up to about 60 kilometers per hour. And
Why go
later on
looking for a
this
cigarette?
afternoon,
This
I
bastard's
think
gonna be, I
those
don't
of you
need the
who
whole
are
cigarette.
dry will end up seeing some rain showers move into your area. The rain, though, does end tonight, and we'll see a low temperature right around 3 degrees. And then tomorrow is a much better day, as we'll see a mix of sun and clouds at a high temperature of 12 degrees. And tomorrow night, we'll see clear skies again and a low temperature
There's
of
no
2
way I'm trying to
degrees.
roll this
Right
weed
now
in
in
these
Pearson,
papers
it's 10 degrees. The
without any
guaranteed
tobacco.
high
The way the
is
shit's
11
been running.
degrees.
680 News time, 12:13.
That'll just split right up
Clean
one
out the
side.
closet, reorganize the basement, and feng shui your living room.
I'll put it in
Now
the
it's
pipe
time
and
to
use
get
some
outside
matches
and
before I
tackle
do
the
that.
garden. During this time, it's time to get the soil and resources you need. So lessmess.ca has made it easier and safer to get topsoil, mulch, compost, sand, and stone delivered to your home with the Less Mess Enviro Bag. Not only do you get nutrient-rich soil in a sealed Less Mess Enviro Bag, but lessmess.ca offers quick, no-contact delivery
The
to keep
only
you feeling
thing I
safe
don't
and
want
secure.
kids learning
Visit
from me is how to be
lessmess.ca and
racist,
get into
man.
your garden.
So I just hope
At
whatever
Global Pet
fucking
Foods, health and
opinion you
safety is a
form of
top
me, you base it on the
priority.
whole
That's why we're
fucking
taking
picture.
extra
That's all.
precautions to keep customers, their
I don't give
pets,
a
and
fuck
our
if you think
dedicated
I'm
staff
racist.
safe.
You call me
Your pets are
racist,
part
I
of the
start
family,
spitting
so it's
racial
important that our
epithets
proudly
specifically
Canadian,
geared to
locally
you.
owned stores are
No,
still
to
open
you
and fully
specifically, not
stocked
your
with pet
race.
food, treats, toys,
I'm
and
like
more.
that.
For added safety, we've shifted to a curbside program for all our customers' needs. Find your local store today at globalpetfoods.com and
That's
concentrate your
stainless
order
steel,
for pickup.
motherfucker. No, this is brass.
This is All News Radio, 680 News.
11 degrees, partly cloudy.
Everything with a light is not within reach.
Broadcast Center in downtown Toronto on
But that is stainless steel.
Here are the top stories this hour.
In an exclusive interview right here on 680 News this morning, the mayor of Toronto.
Why the city of Toronto
but says opening the economy is incredibly difficult.
paying
John
more
Tory
for
says
5
it's
aluminum
of a
screens
second
than
way
6
of
stainless
keeping
steel
everyone
screens
on
to the
high alert.
crackheads?
You can't
They want them to live longer, but they end up with Alzheimer's.
Speaking after many of their members were excluded from yesterday's pay increase to frontline workers. Economist the province reports 437 new cases of COVID-19 and 24 new deaths today. And breaking news from the province, all schools will be shut down until at least May 31st.
I thought we already said that.
We'll speak about the closure.
We said it wasn't going to be May 6th several weeks ago.
680 News Time, 12:15.
I thought they gave some date in June because everything else they said June 31st, which is essentially July 1st, Canada Day.
Beginning on May the
June
1st, the
30th,
NBA will allow teams to open their practice facilities to players in cities and states where local governments have eased stay-at-home orders. Toronto Mayor John Tory telling 680 News that it is something the city has talked about.
Those are discussions that have commenced, but they're at the very, very preliminary stage because the news just came out about the NBA and it allowing teams across the United States to open their practice facilities.
Wojnarowski adds that this does not mean a resumption of the season is imminent and that the NBA is still unsure on if and when it can play again, but getting players safely into gyms was a priority. According to reports, the New Orleans Saints are close to finalizing a one-year deal with free agent quarterback Jameis Winston. He would fill the role that Teddy Bridgewater had last season before he left for Carolina. The NFL draft wrapped up with rounds 4 to 7, and the Buffalo Bills grabbed a potential backup for starting quarterback Josh Allen.
I swear by this shit. Did you know that this is ditch the bottle? That's what it says. No, you can use a bottle. It's what's in it. That one brand right there is distilled Toronto tap water, eh? No shit. Ditch the bottle. Did you know that Toronto's tap water is strictly regulated and tested every 6 hours? That's more than 6,000 times per year. Every 6 hours. Okay, wait. No, it's not. No, it's not. Anyway, Toronto's tap water is, I think they mean because there's multiple supplies. Oh, yeah, we don't just have one main water supply. Toronto's tap water is clean and safe, so fill up a reusable bottle right from your tap to reduce waste and save money. In 6 hours. You know, it takes longer than 6 hours for the water to get from the filter thing up into the pipes. If they did find a problem in the water, they'd tell us before it actually hit the taps. They'd say, oh, just run the water until it runs clear again. It's happened. Oh, it tastes funny. It smells funny, but it won't hurt you. Oh, I'll just drink it now. Algae? Yeah, I know what algae is. That's seaweed. You charge money for that. Fuck you.
A marketing company is making a generous offer to adopt a business during the pandemic.
We're not a restaurant. We're not a garment company. There's not a lot we can do to kind of help on the healthcare front.
That's Marty Fisher, the president of Sherpa Marketing, who says they want to help small businesses.
Can you tell them to put the Trillium logo on every goddamn piece of equipment we make in this province?
Dramatic reduction in budget for marketing dollars.
They're offering to provide $25,000
It's
worth
not
of
going to say
marketing
made by
from video to coding to website
GMC, made by
design.
GM
All a
Canada.
business
It's
has
going
to
to
do
say
is go
made
to
by
their website,
GM.
sherpamarketing.ca,
Oshawa.
showing their top line revenue is below $800,000 and that they suffered
What's it say
significant
on the
losses
charger?
during the pandemic.
300
The company
and the
is alone in
Challenger.
their endeavors. Fisher says others have joined them in the
What's it say
campaign
on
with
the
more to come.
Town and
Feed on
Country? That they used to
680 News Time 12:18.
You die in this province, you get taken away in a minivan made in this province. All black windows. Town and Country. Classics, not the Dodge Caravan. It's a Chrysler Town and Country. Low key, classy.
None of the plans hinge
How
on
many of
people
those fucking
being
vans I've
immune to
seen lined
catching
up over there?
COVID-19
Oh.
twice. He said it's too soon to talk about so-called immunity passports for Canadians.
It is very clear that the science is not decided on whether or not having had COVID once prevents you from getting it again.
Dr. Tracy Tam, Canada's chief public
Ask an
health officer,
HIV doctor how that
the government
works.
has set up an immunity task force that will investigate
Maybe
how
your
people's
HIV
immune
positive
systems
friends,
are
if you have them
responding
say,
to
oh,
COVID-19.
my HIV is gone, no, they say their T count, C cell count is down to whatever.
12:19. Boris Johnson is back.
It's not there and gone, it's there's a spectrum,
in intensive care, the British Prime Minister set to return to work amidst growing criticism of
He's
the
brain
government
dead too, eh?
over how the handling of COVID-19 has gone.
Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, who has been standing in for the Prime Minister, said that Johnson has made a full recovery 2 weeks after his release from hospital.
As you can imagine, with the Prime Minister, he's ready to go.
Britain has recorded more than 20,000 deaths among people hospitalized with COVID-19, the fifth country in the world to reach that total. Thousands more are thought to have died in nursing homes. Opposition politicians say Britain's coronavirus death toll could have been lower if Johnson had imposed a nationwide lockdown sooner, and also criticised his government over shortages of protective equipment for medical workers and a lack of testing for the virus. With hundreds of new deaths announced each day, some health experts say Britain could eventually have the highest virus death toll in Europe, carried out of London.
Working from home could become a staple in one country even after the pandemic is over. In Germany, the country's labor minister wants to enshrine into law the right to work from home if it's feasible to do so, even after COVID-19 is gone. Initial estimates out of Germany say the proportion of the country's workforce working from home has risen between 12 and 25% during the crisis.
What do you make that you can make from your home?
As soon as this fall.
That's one thing you guys weren't good at. You at home here, factory, you work here, home here.
680 News Time.
Drive at 300 kilometers an hour for 2 minutes to get to work. Buy beer at the gas station, but you don't have anything you can do from your home.
Just beyond Nikola Tesla, the right lane is blocked off because of police activity. It's also affecting a piece of the ramp lane as well. The volume is very light in this area, so there's a silver lining. Northbound 404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7. We have construction still again today, blocking the HOV lane as well as the 3 left lanes. But today, there's no delay through that stretch. No problems on the Gardner Expressway along the south end of the city, and the Don Valley Parkway looks to be in excellent shape. On the eastbound 407, east of Yonge to east of the 404, only the left lane is open because of construction. The northbound Yonge and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are closed, and the eastbound 407 ramps to both Leslie and to the 404 are closed because of this work. St. Louis Bar and Grill thanks you for supporting local businesses, including your local St. Louis restaurant, through takeout and delivery. Their deepest gratitude goes to the first responders, keeping us all safe. Your next report is at 12:31.
Now the
forecast here is Jason Fraser.
Just spend money on the ads. Tell them you
around
say
the GTA. Some of you are even seeing some light showers. This is all associated with a massive storm that extends all the way into the state of Illinois. Now, later on tonight, we will end up seeing not only the winds die down, we are already seeing winds gusting at Pearson International up to about 54 kilometers per hour. We'll also end up seeing some of the rain clear as well, and we'll see a low temperature right around 3 degrees. Now, for tomorrow and Tuesday, we'll see a mix of sun and clouds on both days at a high temperature.
Keep your rain on your fucking side of the border, bro. Fuck.
Some rain showers and a high temperature on both days near 10 degrees. It is 10 degrees right now at Pearson. The guaranteed high is 13 degrees.
Coming up at 12:30, breaking news from the province. All schools in Ontario will remain closed until at least May 31st. Stephen Lecce guarantees it will not affect graduation or completion of the school year. Will carry
Rubber stamp policy. Welcome to the Union of Socialist Canadian Provinces. Oh, you were real close to being a doctor. Guess what? Now you're a doctor. Oh, you put the fender on the car over and over all day long. Now you make medical equipment. You're a medical equipment maker now, bro. You're a technician now, bro. You are like a designer and engineer now.
On CBC. Catch world premieres and new docs every week.
Oh, you serve French fries? Guess what? Now you're a frontline essential worker. We'll even let you sell beer without any credentials.
Keeping your family safe.
At 7 in the morning.
What? 680 News for the latest on the coronavirus.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day on your radio.
680
The
News.
fucked up part is stunt driving went up, but they haven't said that impaired driving's gone up.
Smart speaker. You're listening to 680 News, a digital first for the Rolling Stones. Christopher Watson of ABC News explains. The Rolling
Fucking whore cocksuckers. Goddamn white people music.
Family problems, we know how to solve them.
Family problems, like your mom cheating on your dad. His life is so close. He went from private school to teaching at a private school. His life is such a close circle. Now he's the prime minister. What the fuck? Oh, pay no attention to the fighter jets overhead. Pay no attention to the fighter jets overhead.
Come to the family reunion last summer. Fuck you and your home.
Illinois.
Over it now. I wear the crown, respected everywhere.
Illinois.
If you never there, not even folk. Who you try to
There is a page
and the
in Illinois.
this is YouTube.
Midwestern Great Lakes Media. No big charges for
I'm a
domestic
problem.
violence.
30 years before
Just show me the board.
That's right, cause I'm a psycho, a psycho with a good heart. That shit them all at first, and they turned into like, oh no, what made my cousin Mervin and my
We call this the Toronto land.
Come on, dog, just me and my girl.
We gotta change the name from GTA to Grand Theft Auto Association.
Don't know nada, I'm coming back. Getting God the answers, getting more from strangers, fans being holding me down. I got the juice now. Holding me down, I got the juice now. Family problems, I know how to solve them. Friends problems, I know how to solve them. Family problems, we know how to solve them. Friends
You know I am.
problems, we
Fuck
know
your
how
2
to
states
solve
over,
them.
motherfucker. That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah, all I found ever is Montreal. Yo, missed my last year, 2018. Bigger show. 2018. Fuck out of here, man. All I need is
Keep your rain.
my friend.
Keep your weather. Keep your droplets over there, bro.
I didn't know your choice. Say, master, motherfucker. I got my own shit. So I get, no love, no love, no love. That's what you get, No love, no love, no love.
Many of us are now working from home in an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19. Lisa Fulton is Senior Managing Director of Workplace Strategy at CBRE, a commercial real estate services and investment firm.
I think it's too early to tell, quite frankly, what the long-term effects are going to be
The RE is Richard Ellis.
in terms of the sentiment for
Real
change
estate, Richard
and
Ellis.
transformational change.
CBRE.ca, some
I
shit.
would say in the short term, certainly work from home has completely disrupted organizations.
Holy fuck, your state is small.
day-to-day
No
operations.
offense.
In conversations that we're having,
200 by 400,
majority
eh?
of
Oh, that's a
organizations
lot of
have
miles.
stabilized and been able
That's
to
the GTA,
get most
eh?
of their
200 miles by
business
400
operations up and
miles.
running.
What?
And because of technology, the transition was probably easier for some rather than others.
I would say for the majority of organizations, yes, the technology was in place. The adoption and the familiarity with that technology was wide-ranging. Not everyone gravitated to learning the technology that would enable them to work effectively. So what we're seeing is organizations who were behind on the curve of digitization and digital workflows are catching up quickly, and certainly if they're not operating effectively now, they will be investing heavily in the future to de-risk the process.
And what about those others?
I think when we return to the workplace, we are going to find some super users and leaders and managers and late adopters who are using the technology are going to be much more proficient in leading distributed teams and work from home teams.
Lisa Fulford Roy is with CBRE. And at the Business Center, I'm Chris McCusker.
This Sunday, iconic Canadian
You have a state amphibian in Illinois?
share their stories of hope and inspiration. In the
Write down your guess. Write down your guess. It's the Eastern Tiger Salamander. The fuck? How do you even have that?
Stronger together, Canadians in support of COVID-19 relief.
The official butterfly is the monarch butterfly. That's nice.
City TV.
Your official grass is the big blue stem. Okay.
When it happens on 680 News. I'm Kerry Schmidt with the Ontario.
Your official mammal's the white-tailed deer. That's no good. We shoot those as
collisions on our
pest.
roads every day.
But hey, you
Most
kill
of
our
these collisions
geese.
can be prevented,
all
especially the
without
ones
hand.
involving alcohol. You can help to keep
The
our
official
roads safe
dance is
by
the
always
square
having a
dance?
plan for a
Really?
safe ride home. Have
Your
a
official
designated driver,
food is the
take a
Gold
cab,
Rush apple
stay
and
overnight,
popcorn.
or use public transit. And you can report a suspected impaired driver by calling 911.
A message from Arrival Live Drive
Did I
Silver
not just say
and
about
Operation
no
Lookout.
extra impaired drivers?
This is your breaking news station, 680 News.
Taking a look now at your short-term forecast. This afternoon, 12 degrees, some rain rolling in, 8 into the evening, and just 3 degrees overnight. Tomorrow morning, it'll heat back up, starting with 6 degrees and turning into 12 by the afternoon with plenty of sunshine to go around. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day, and hey, always be in the know. Find it here on your smart speaker at 680news.com. It's 12:30.
Number 1 for news in Toronto.
It's 22 seconds off.
680 News.
Here are Cam Doris and Caitlin Lee.
Good afternoon. It's Sunday, April 26th.
Here's what's making news
Where
right now.
the fuck is the premier?
Breaking news from the Education Minister. Ontario schools will remain closed until at least May 31st.
A clear plan for Toronto is coming this week. Mayor John Tory had that and much more to say as he answered questions from 680 News listeners.
The union representing Peel Paramedics is speaking up after they were left out of the province's pandemic pay increase for frontline workers.
Stronger.
Damn, I didn't know Illinois was so fucking interesting. I'm sorry.
Jesus fuck. COVID-19 relief.
We could see some NBA players begin to practice within the next few weeks as the 49ers make a slew of trades at the NFL draft. Sports at 45.
And coming up in business, it's one business that's actually, perhaps unfortunately for some, booming during this period. We're talking to a divorce lawyer who says his phone is ringing off the hook.
Time 12:31.
Time for traffic and weather. Together on the ones, here is Christine Langos.
Thank you, Caitlin. This report is brought to you by TSC. We have police activity on the Toronto-bound QEW just beyond Nikola Tesla, and it's blocking the right lane as well as the right shoulder from the looks of it. Not causing any big delay, just a bit of a visual distraction for some, unfortunately. Northbound on the 404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7. We still have construction set up. The HOV lane and the 3 left lanes have been blocked because of this. No delay to that area. Volume is very light from what I can see here on our roadways. The northbound Allen ramp to
across the highway with cars going by. Oh, it's
on
just
the
a visual distraction,
to the 404, only the single
The
left
people
lane
will
is
drive
getting
right through.
because of
Oh, well,
construction
it's
work.
just a
They've
visual
also closed the
distraction.
eastbound
Nothing to
47 ramps to
report.
Leslie and to the 404, and the northbound Yonge and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are also closed. Get everything you need on the go with the Apple iPad bundle, available with 3-year tech support at TSC. Shop today and save up to 40%. Shop TSC.ca. Your next report is at 12:41. Now at the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, right now we're seeing a combination of cloud cover as well as strong breeze out of the east. We are seeing winds that are gusting up to about 54 kilometers per hour. Later on this afternoon, we could even see a 60 kilometer per hour wind gust. Later on this afternoon, we'll also see the wind finally taper off, and we'll also see the rain do the same by tonight. And we'll see a low temperature right around 3 degrees.
Which you
right
did
now,
last
in
week.
Pearson, it's 10
Hey,
degrees.
it's
The
you
guaranteed high
motherfucker.
is 13 degrees.
680 News Time 12:32.
Breaking news from the Ontario government. Education Minister Stephen Lecce says publicly funded schools in Ontario will remain closed until at least May 31st.
The government says the decision was made based on advice from the Chief Medical Officer of Health. Lecce says they will do whatever it takes to keep students safe, and it will not impact graduation. He will be speaking momentarily, and we'll carry it live right here on 680 News.
Momentarily.
Meanwhile, John Tory says a new plan to reopen Toronto's economy will be released this week. The mayor answered your COVID-19 questions this morning, live on 680 News. 680's Stuart McGinn has more on the exclusive talk.
A wide-ranging interview with the mayor as he answered questions from 680 News listeners, but the most important piece of information was what's to come from the city in the coming days.
We'll know more about the kinds of parameters they're setting out. So when we can start looking
Put the Churchill coin on top of the
city this week, I think you'll have a better idea of what those kind of measurements are.
Nonetheless, we've been promised it will be slow and steady, recognizing doing too much all at once could increase.
And we're going to go live to Stephen Lecce at Queen's Park to talk about this new announcement of schools being closed until May 31st.
The future of learning in this province. Now, I'm incredibly proud of everyone involved within the education ecosystem, within our school communities. Truly incredible work being done. From schools donating personal protective equipment to the front lines to help those who are helping save lives, to communities really stepping up to ensure that seniors are not isolated with students reaching out. It's these types of acts and everyday demonstration of compassion in action that I think really makes all of us proud to be Ontarians and Canadians. The spirit of Ontario is alive and well within our schools, that so many educators and school boards have worked so hard to outreach to their students, and of course so many parents and their children have worked hard to engage themselves in learning through this process with a great level of patience, and so I'm grateful to you all. With respect to the future of learning, I understand parents would like a greater sense of where we will go for the remainder of this calendar year. So the government, on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer of Health, following consecutive discussions with Dr. Williams and the command table, the government has decided and is announcing to extend the extend the school closure period to May 29th. That extension will provide the province, the government, more time, sufficient time to review the data and the modeling so that we make the best decision based on the best medical advice to our government. And so that ultimately students remain safe and staff remain safe should they return to school at some point this year or at any time beyond. We're going to ensure that safety remains our paramount priority, which is why we're providing an additional month extension for us to work with Dr. Williams and the command table to make sure we get this right, to make sure that ultimately the students and staff, when they return, can do so with absolute confidence.
You're gonna hear the fighter jets going overhead any minute.
Right now, the command table requires some more time, and they will have that time. The next time I go out, the next time I make an announcement on the extension or the future of the school year, it'll provide that final update with respect to landscape. By then we will know, we'll have updated data, better modeling, and we'll be able to provide final predictability to those that seek it, for those students and their parents, and of course for
he didn't say we will return with updates. He's like, the next time you hear from me,
we're taking a few steps. The first is the intention of the government is to eliminate all the remaining PA days left in the school year. That reflects about 7 for high school, 7 PA days in high school will be used for learning, and about 2 in elementary school. That's what's left. And that I think will help optimize learning. It ensures that every child is able to remain engaged every day for the remainder of this year.
You know what? I'm not doing
we're also building a strong, credible summer learning program that's going to really help expand
Escobar spent what's his face spent $2,500 a week on these
to make sure that we mitigate the learning loss, to ultimately ensure that students and their parents have a choice to enhance learning given the difficulty of this year. And obviously, the continued focus of the government is going to be on planning for September to be prepared for whatever eventuality and circumstance our province is in.
You're skipping the school year. You're skipping the school year. What happened to 2021? The planets took a break.
The modeling will foreshadow, and however the challenges manifest in the coming months, I want you to know with confidence that we're building a plan for every circumstance to ensure children remain safe and to ensure students remain learning. Led by their educator, under their guidance and under their leadership. So with that, turn it over to you for questions.
Okay, the first question comes from Chanel from CD24. If the closure is not going to extend past May 31st, what would the summer look like for Ontario students and teachers? How will the semester be extended? How will the education?
You know, students right now completed 3/4 of their school year in class. We've built a program that gets them to the finish line for the next quarter. At this point, we do not see a need to extend the school year. We do see a need for sure to ensure that learning continues under the coming weeks and months, led by an educator using virtual learning. It's why over 14,000 educators have participated in professional developments to better embrace virtual learning and distance learning and give them that, value-added opportunity to make that experience more meaningful for students. But right now, we don't see a need at this moment to extend the school year. We are looking at enhancing summer educational programming for parents. And of course, we're looking at additional measures that could be taken for next year to make sure that the educational integrity of a student is severed, to make sure the child is learning, and to make sure that they actually learn everything that is required within the curriculum so that we can, with confidence, know that they're graduating with integrity.
And the follow-up, or the second question is, can you explain how private schools are operating? They're only closed until May 6th, and are they obligated to not to extend into the summer, or will they?
The private schools like childcare are managed under the emergency order. Those orders is a bit different. I'm essentially closing schools until the 29th of May using an authority, a power in the Education Act. It's rarely used, but it can be used in the context of safety, for example. So I've done that to the 29th. The childcare, private schools, these types of centers fall under the emergency order, and the decision of cabinet if should we renew that order would impact private schools and childcare.
It doesn't say hold away from face. It just says keep out of reach of children. This is Canada. If you're stupid, you're gonna die. You'll solve the problem.
Putting anything new in place to support students.
Oh, my face on fire!
Parents helping manage to facilitate that learning and coaching.
Absolutely. We have updated the Learn at Home portal with new materials, including from TVO and TEFL in English and French, providing more access to students and their parents. We're providing, as I mentioned, professional development. Literally over 14,000 educators have signed up for this. We're going to be expanding that and enhancing it so that more of them are able to participate and improve their skills. And of course, we're enhancing the parent guides, the parent resources to enable them to be as effective as they can to support their kids. I appreciate that many of the parents at home are often working at home. These children may have parents who are in the essential service economy. They may have someone who may be working the front lines in response to COVID-19. And so we're very sensitive to that. We want to make sure that as much responsibility is borne on the education system, not on the parent. And our aim is to do more of that over the coming weeks to make sure that, the system bears that responsibility, that, our educators who are really stepping up through this process, they continue to do so. And we're grateful for that. And we obviously want to make sure that parents and their students are best supported, including from a mental health perspective, which is why we've announced an additional $12 million, much of it targeted organizations like Kids Help Fund. It's going to help those students who feel the angst and the pressure of the unknown dealing with COVID-19 and the pandemic.
This is also from CBC. There was confusion after the government's announcement on April 17th about providing iPads. Many were under the impression that after the government would be handing out free iPads, but it's up to the school boards to use existing funding to buy them. Can you tell us how many iPads have been purchased by the school board since the announcement, and whether the government did anything aside from setting up the partnership with Apple and Rogers? Why not give it to
you? Need some iPads? I get you a truckload of
iPads. We understand that in the virtual and distant learning environment, the technology can be a really important aid, and we want to mitigate from the differential experience. There are some people who have access and those that do not. And so the aim of the school boards and the Ministry of Education is to collaborate, to work hard to make sure that every child has access to learning and to the technology required to learn. And that's why the province worked with Apple and Rogers to build a partnership, a low-cost, high-impact solution, free internet, free LTE internet, as well as free access to Apple software. This is a good program that was provincialized.
Isn't that what keeps making this phone catch fire or whatever?
The ministry and myself and my authorities as minister reached out to the CEO of Rogers and the leadership of Apple personally to make sure that program can be provincialized. We can offer more school boards a low-cost, affordable solution to the challenge of technology.
Remember, 10 years from now, these kids going to remember, was the Rogers service good or shitty?
Our school boards are funded just north of $75 million each year for technology. I know that those monies are flowing in real time to help as many kids as possible. And I'm grateful for the school boards who worked so hard to survey the needs and to ultimately distribute them and procure them. And it is a partnership between all of us. 200,000 devices are currently being deployed of existing technology, often bought in part or by utilizing provincial funds. But the bottom line is school boards are leading
in
conjunction with the province building that program. And we're just grateful for it. And we're going to continue to work to get more of them out the door to help more young people who need it.
John Musselman, CTV, sends this question. What does the model specifically need to show before schools can reopen? What do you want to see?
Yeah, I think we're going to be unveiling a greater context on the recovery plan and some of those benchmarks. I think currently the advice from the Chief Medical Officer of Health, based on discussions as recently as a few days ago, is that we're not there today. We need more time. We need to see a reduced risk to our young people.
You pay attention to the number of items line.
We've given us another month of time, a bit more predictability for parents at home to know this will be the norm for the coming weeks, but realizing that in the coming weeks, we're also going to be working with the command table, working with Dr. Williams, the Chief Medical Officer of Health, to make sure that we take a prudent approach that maintains the safety of every child and the staff in this province. And we'll have more to say about what May 30th and beyond looks like based on the up-to-date data. And I just want to say I appreciate for many parents the frustration, for educators, for the students. You know, the kids want to see their friends, and we just want to have a sense of certainty. And I know in this circumstance, in the COVID world, there's not a lot of that. There's a lot of unknown, but we're working hard to make sure that you have access to that data. And we're going to continue to release it transparently. Clearly, we've made some gains as a province because of the collective adherence to social distancing as families have stayed home, because the governments of all levels have worked together to really stem the tide that could have been
$2 on this. I cannot trade for coffee.
Potentially, we would have died as a consequence of COVID. And so we've been decisive. We need to go further. And until we get to enhanced improvements, then we're not going to reopen schools. And the recovery plan will help guide that process.
This question comes from several people, Caroline Alfonso, Bloomfield and elsewhere.
Sure.
What does the expanded summer learning program look like?
In the province of Ontario, we have a summer learning program. The aim is largely about mitigating learning loss. It's about getting young people engaged. We've got a program I was very proud to visit last year, where we have educators focusing on a math-specific program for several weeks in the summer, where kids and parents are able to sign up. It is free, and it provides daytime instruction by an educator, by a math teacher, and that is really an example of the type of programs and initiatives we're working on in real time to scale up, to offer that opportunity to as many young people as possible in the areas of competencies that matter. STEM education is critical now into the future for our economy and for our young people accessing and actually getting those jobs of the future, those aspirational, good-paying jobs that we want them to have. So an emphasis on STEM and social sciences, these are critical, and that's where the aim and the focus has been traditionally, and where it will be. We're just going to be scaling it up and supporting it more, and we'll be providing those details certainly in the coming weeks as we work with partners to solicit their interest and ultimately build a program that gets more young people learning.
And this is a question from Randy Rath, CHCH.
Sure.
Okay, you've been listening to Education Minister Stephen Lecce with more on that breaking news. Ontario schools will remain closed until at least May 31st. He says they are building a plan for every circumstance. We built a program that gets them to the finish line. That's what he said. He says there's no need to extend the school year since 3/4 of school were completed before schools had to close. He says there's a big focus. We're planning for September, also enhancing summer education programs for those who still may need it. He says he will have more to say on his next announcement.
And the work that just didn't get rubber stamp policy this fucking year.
COVID-19 case numbers. 6 City News Time, 12:47. A glaring omission. Two groups of frontline workers are wondering why they were left out of the pandemic pay boost announced yesterday by Doug Ford. 680's Michelle Mackey joins us live with the latest, including a rising number of COVID-19 recoveries in Ontario. Michelle.
This is not supposed to
Yeah,
come
Caitlin,
on.
the union representing Peel Paramedics is speaking out after paramedics were left out of the province's temporary pandemic pay increase.
That's a
President
signature
Dave
line.
Wakely hopes the exclusion was an oversight.
I can rip that off your card and put it on mine. What the
Staff
fuck?
isn't done yet.
If that's not the case, then it kind of feels
it all out.
like
You
a
don't even know
level of
it's supposed to be on
disrespect being
there.
paid to my members and the work that they're doing.
Wakely also notes respiratory therapists and midwives
What
were
a
left out
strange
of qualifying
way to
staff.
make an identity.
Regardless, he says paramedics' primary objective is to continue to deliver core services. I've been in touch with the Premier's office regarding this matter and am expecting a response shortly. The province currently outlines qualified healthcare personnel as staff working in long-term care homes, corrections institutions, supportive housing, and some staff in hospitals.
So if you drive an ambulance and it's owned by an old age home, you're covered.
New
You
cases
work
of
for the city of
COVID-19
Toronto
today,
as an ambulance
the
driver, you're not
lowest
covered.
daily increase in more than a week, bringing the provincial total over 14,000. 24 more fatalities have also been confirmed, bringing Ontario's death toll over 800, while 8,000 people have now recovered. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
680 News Time, 12:49. Toronto has opened 11 new facilities and secured more than 1,200 hotel rooms to house people who would normally use the city's shelter system. Toronto is also working on helping people in the shelter system.
Hotel rooms, no one else is using them.
With Toronto Community Housing. 73
All these
people have been
people
moved
have
out of the
visas
shelter
to work
system
there.
and into permanent homes so far. Multiple shelters in the city have already experienced significant outbreaks of COVID-19.
It's the final day for commercial flights between Canada and the U.S. Last week, Air Canada announced it was suspending service to the U.S. after both countries agreed to extend restrictions on cross-border travel for another 30 days.
This is highly
And the airline says chartered flights have repatriated more than 6,000 stranded Canadians from Morocco, Spain, and Ecuador, among other countries. The airline says the suspension of service will last until May 22nd. Flights will resume afterwards if no further border restrictions are announced.
Sign it, witness myself, sign it, prove to me that I agree with
in Canadian history. Stronger Together.
That is
some COVID-19 relief, and a list of stars is incredible.
Oh, you said Big Mac don't have a written language. Okay, I'm not signing nothing.
That don't arrest me.
Jesus Christ. Don't sue me. Motherfuckers. That is some highly suspect shit. Does that mean the front is printed the same way? Like, what the fuck, man? No wonder they say you buy 3 of the cards. You have to pay for that card, the physical card. So you buy 3 of them, you save $10. No wonder they offer that down.
Still have this police activity on the Toronto-bound QEW just past Nikola Tesla. They're blocking the right lane and ramp lane as well, but it's not causing anything more than a visual distraction because a volume is light everywhere. I'm checking and not spotting any slowdowns. Even through that construction northbound on the 404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7, that's where the HOV lane and 3 left lanes are closed. So everyone is being forced over to the right lane only. But again, no delay because of that light volume. On the eastbound 407 east of Yonge to east of the 404, only the left lane is open because of construction. They've also closed the ramp to Leslie into the 404. Northbound Yonge and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are closed. And the 401 across the GTA running along just fine. The northbound Allen ramp to the westbound 401 collectors closed for long-term construction, but it isn't causing a delay. St. Louis Bar and Grill thanks you for supporting local businesses, including your local St. Louis restaurant through takeout and delivery. Their deepest gratitude goes to the first responders keeping us all safe. Your next report is at 101. Now with the forecast, meteorologist Jason Fraser.
Well, right now we are seeing lots of clouds in around the GTA. Some of us are even seeing some light rain, and over the next couple of hours, that light rain is going to be sticking around. I think by 7 o'clock, that's when we'll likely end up starting to see the rain dissipate. And after midnight, that's when we'll be able to give the all clear. Now, what will happen tomorrow is many of you are going to be waking up not only to temperatures right around 3 or 4 degrees, but we'll see a few more clouds as well as some sunshine and a high temperature by the afternoon of 12 degrees. And then it'll be pretty much a carbon copy for Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday.
Carbon copy? These kids don't know what carbon copy means, bro. Is that like a climate change thing?
At Pearson, the guaranteed high is 13 degrees.
Coming up at 1 o'clock, we'll have more on the breaking news from Stephen Lecce's schools in Ontario.
They were still asking questions.
Until at least the end of the month on advice from end of next month, rather, on advice from health officials. But Lecce says it will not impact graduation, and there is no need to extend the school year.
680 News Time, 12:53. This extended forecast is brought to you by Dynamic Funds. Research shows that investors who work with an advisor accumulate 3.9 times more assets than those who don't. Advice matters.
Right. These
Now
all say
more than ever.
visas.
Learn more
That's
at
his
dynamic.ca/advice.
The early
I'm allowed to right
deadline in
here.
the Princess Margaret Home
Anywhere on here,
is
you
in
could find
5
some sort of
days.
fraud. No, I
Don't
can
miss
write
our
right here.
world-famous $1.5 million early bird prize. A stunning Kawartha lakefront cottage built by Inwood with over 3,000 square feet of luxury. It comes fully furnished, complete with dock. All this could be yours, along with $30,000 cash. Don't wait. The early bird deadline is in 5 days. Tickets at PrincessMargaretLotto.com.
Somewhere beyond the headlines lies the big story. Hosted by veteran Canadian journalist Jordan Keith Rawlings. The Big Story, available wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now.
680 News Time, 12:54. Buying and selling property can be challenging. And what about in a pandemic? Diana Pereira is the manager of digital news for 680 News. She tells us about the unusual steps she took leading up to moving day.
I scanned documents on my iPhone. I created a virtual signature, never had one before, to sign all kinds of documents. I'm talking about agreements that are worth thousands of dollars. I met my lawyer through Zoom to sign my purchase documents to actually buy a house in Toronto. I signed documents on Zoom video while my lawyer was watching me. Haven't met him. I picked up the keys to the townhouse in a lockbox. Didn't pick up the keys.
Everybody's living like a drug kingpin now.
Usually from a lawyer.
As for the move
You don't even have to know how to read anymore.
was made up of two
You put your
people,
thumbprints
each
on
wearing
your
a mask
iPhone,
and
put it
gloves,
up.
and only one person allowed in at a time. 680 News Time, 12:55. Dear Real Canadian Superstore, No Frills customers, flyers are now digital only. Please know that low price commitment is still the #1 priority, and they're still providing great weekly promotions and offers. Find them in store on superstore.ca, nofrills.ca, and in the PC Optimum app.
Ontario, your efforts to beat COVID-19 are making a difference. Staying home, physical distancing, and hand washing are working, but we have to keep going. This is when it matters most. Don't put your family and friends at risk. Stay home, stay strong, save lives.
We have you staying in your crib like COVID.
Coronavirus. Paid for by the Government of Ontario.
Dear Real Canadian Superstore, No Frills customers, flyers are now digital only. Please know that low price commitment is still the #1 priority, and they're still providing great weekly promotions and offers. Find them in store on superstore.ca, nofrills.ca, and in the PC Optimum app.
680 News Time, 12:56.
Now your business report.
And coming up in business, it's one business that's actually burning.
We'll have that in just 1 second.
You've suffered from anxiety and depression during this pandemic.
What happened to the fucking education minister?
My name is Aaron Washington.
There's some sneaky shit
during
going
this
on.
pandemic,
That's sneaky.
we are open
Why
and working
they
for our
cut them
clients
off
from
when they
our
were still
homes.
asking questions?
If your disability claim is denied for any reason, call me at 416-661-4878 or pound LTD on your cell phone. And before you call, you
Caffeine
should also
addict
remember
becomes frustrated
to
at the empty paraphernalia.
661-4878
When he finds more drugs, he will clean up the mess very quickly.
Okay,
and
now we'll head back
effectively.
to Richard Southern in the Business Center.
I'm Richard Southern. We're all self-quarantining for a very good reason, but in some cases, it may have had some negative consequences. Family lawyers are finding themselves awfully busy. Russell Alexander has a family law practice in the GTA.
You know, the phone's going crazy. A lot of the calls over the last couple of weeks have been related to custody.
The law says you have to produce this card physically. So you can duct tape it to the fucking dashboard of the boat if you want.
weekend and they don't send them back. We have
That's why you combine
some
three.
parents trying to change custody arrangements using
I glued it to the
COVID-19.
fucking
You know,
teeth.
parents are complaining that the other spouse is in the healthcare profession and poses a risk.
When it comes specifically to divorce or questions thereof, have you
Sign
noticed
the
any
back.
increase on that front?
Not yet.
Sure,
The studies we're seeing from China and the United Kingdom is that divorce rates are spiking. Spouses that are having a difficult time being quarantined or isolating with their spouse for such an extended period of time. We haven't seen it here in Canada yet. Mind you, we've only been, restricted for maybe 6 or 8 weeks. If this goes on several months,
Then it is like a replace the damn card.
spike. There may be a baby boom in several months, who knows? It could be the flip side of all this, right?
But let's say this has been the final straw with my spouse.
This
I'm
page
done.
here is
I'm
still
gonna
a
call
valid
Russell.
identity
What's
document. It's just
like,
not a
how
travel
much is it going to
document
cost me to
anymore.
get divorced? Is there like a bare minimum here?
A lot of it's going to depend on your spouse, right? So the more you can agree on, the less it's going to cost. If you can't agree on anything, you know, some spouses can't agree on what time of day it is, then obviously the lawyers are going to be more actively involved. There's lots of options available for people right now. Professionals are still working, mediators are still working, family counselors are still working.
That's Russell Alexander from Russell Alexander Collaborative Family Lawyers. And at the Business Center, I'm Richard Southern.
If you're hearing this, you're staying in and keeping your distance. Or you're going to work and providing all Canadians
It says
with the
Canadian with an E on the end.
through this
With an NE.
But whether you're at home or on the front lines, you're doing your part. And if you need us, just know that Intact Insurance is here for you. Online or by phone, and with 24/7 claim service. Visit intact.ca or talk to your
20
broker.
seconds off. That's strange.
680
It
news time,
says-
1 o'clock.
If I put a marker on that, they're going to say it's not valid.
This is 680 News, Toronto.
Here are Cam Dorrit and Caitlin Lee.
Why is there an NE on the end? On the end?
Here's what's making news this hour.
Breaking news, schools in the province will remain closed until May 31st, but the education minister says everyone will still graduate on time.
A glaring omission. Paramedics say they've been left off the list of healthcare workers who qualify for the province's temporary pandemic pay increase.
Toronto won't pile back on the subway all at once. Answering questions from 680 News listeners,
in
Mayor
French,
John
they
Tory
don't
said
say
how
family
exactly
name,
the
last
city
name,
will
nothing.
ease
It's
back
his
to normal
name.
life will be made clear
The
this
English
week.
thinks his
The
surname.
NFL draft is in the books, but these Saints are
And then
still
in Canada,
busy
you don't
signing
have
a new
a first
quarterback
and a
and
middle.
re-signing another.
Given name,
Sports at
slash,
15.
prénom,
Coming up
free
in
name.
business, a credit union has
There is
raised
no
a huge
first
sum from its
and
members,
middle.
$200 million,
You have a shitload of
to fund
first
loans
names.
for
That's
small
it.
companies pivoting due
Given.
to the
Names
pandemic.
given to you. The other one is just your name. It's
This report is brought to you by Roto-Rooter Emergency Services. Problems have
That
cleared from the
NE
Toronto
should
Bound
not be there,
QEW
and I don't know how I
and
never
Tesla.
noticed
All
it
lanes have
till
been
last
reopened.
week. I
And
noticed
now
it.
I'm just looking at a stalled vehicle on the southbound 404 south of Eglinton. It's over on the right shoulder. No tows on scene as of yet, but in general, not a bad drive on the Don Valley Parkway top to bottom. Northbound on the 404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7 still have this construction
About
taking up the
$2,000
HOV lane
graphic
as
Maple
well as
Leafs
the
on
3
this
left
shit.
lanes, but just a minor bunch up through that area. The northbound
I
Allen
bet
ramp
this
to
will reflect
westbound
nice
401
too, like
closed
a
for
signal
construction.
man.
The westbound Britannia and northbound Bramley ramps to eastbound 407 having closed because of road work. And beyond that, northbound Yonge and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 also closed. And that's because we have construction
I know how to
eastbound
figure
on
out
the
this
407
solution
from
to
east of
this.
Yonge to east of the 404. Only the left
What
lane
happened
is
to the
getting through.
education
So
minister?
they've also closed the
Where
ramps
is
to Leslie
Premier?
and to the 404.
You people are
Roto-Rooter is
playing
fully
games
prepared
today,
to
but I
continue
don't
to
like.
serve you in this difficult time. To help with any of your drain, plumbing, or disinfection needs, contact them 24/7 online at rotorooter.com. Your next report is at 1:11. Now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
8 degrees right now in downtown Toronto, and we're seeing a mix of either overcast skies, drizzle, or light rain. It really depends on
I can see
where
the
you
goddamn
are.
sun.
And for the next couple of hours, if you're not seeing any rain showers, you will likely see rain showers. Later on this evening, we'll see cloudy skies, and we'll see some clearing after midnight. Low temperature tonight of 3 degrees.
Back, you go out there, tell me what the weather's like. You can
13
see already,
degrees.
it's sunny,
680 News
boss.
Time 103.
We begin with
Goddamn.
breaking news from Ontario's education.
Half-blind
Minister,
crackhead
Stephen Lecce,
is
has
more
announced that
reliable right
all
now.
publicly funded schools in the province will remain closed until at least May 31st. Lecce said the decision is based on advice from the Chief Medical Officer of Health, adding that the student safety is his #1 priority.
We're going to ensure that safety remains our paramount priority, which is why we're providing an additional month extension for us to work with Dr.
Boss,
Williams
I
and
need
the
to know how to
command
spell
table
Canada
to make
again.
this right, to make sure that ultimately the students and staff, when they return, can do so with absolute confidence it is safe to do so.
Lecce stressed all students will be able to finish their school year online and graduate if they are eligible. The government says the extension is meant to give officials time to review updated modeling data. Stay with 680 News for more.
Our communities don't have ADSL cable or fucking decent.
Frontline workers in the province are now eligible for a pay bump of $4 an hour. It appears paramedics are missing out. 680 News showed that the latest, including some new promising COVID-19 data from the province. She joins us live now, Michelle.
When you know the demographics
And
say,
the president of Peel Paramedics Union, Dave Wakely, says it isn't about the pay increase, but it's about the lack of acknowledgement. However, the primary objective is to deliver core services to the people they serve.
Paramedics are always going to be there for people, and
I had bad eyes, and they refused to let me sit close to the. If you get on your knees, you can sit and write.
Wakely also notes that respiratory therapists and
I was literally made to kneel in front of the board, in front of all the fucking white kids.
Paramedics' primary objective, as mentioned, is to continue to serve the people. I've been in touch with the Premier's office regarding this matter, and am expecting a response shortly. The province currently outlines qualified healthcare personnel as staff working in long-term care homes, retirement homes, supportive housing, and some staff in hospitals. Meantime, Ontario is reporting 437 new cases of COVID-19 today, the lowest daily increase in over a week. The provincial total now stands at over 14,000 cases. 24 more fatalities have also been confirmed, bringing Ontario's death toll over 800, while 8,000 people have now recovered. And this today is the first time there have been more reported recoveries than new cases.
So the first year,
Reporting live,
no white kids in
I'm
the
Michelle
class,
Mackey.
black teacher, that was cool. We all had to be in the portable.
On 680 News this morning,
outside
an
the school.
exclusive
Second
interview
year
with
English.
John Tory. The mayor answered your questions, including
That's
how
a
long
fucking
people will need to work from home.
7
680
years
Stuart
of fucking
McGinn has
French
everything you may
education.
have missed.
Thanks.
If you have a good work from home setup, the mayor says it might be a good idea to get comfortable.
In the early stages of the recovery plan, I won't be surprised if we say, well, look, not everybody can suddenly pile back on the subway and go to work on the same day.
Recovery plan will be outlined by city officials in the coming days. Answering questions from 680 News listeners, John Tory said the city has no plans to increase fines for anyone not following physical distancing regulations.
We're not making any changes to it at the moment, and we just hope people don't get the ticket because they get it, that they're not supposed to be close to anybody else.
Thousands, nice round number, easy to
do everything
remember.
we can to avoid a second wave of COVID-19, meaning there's no way anytime soon thousands can pile into Rogers Centre to watch a Blue Jays game. I'm Stuart McGinn.
Canadians are people identified with the country of Canada. This connection may be residential, legal, historical, or cultural.
Officials now say
Would you get locked up here?
He has not been seen in public for over 2 weeks.
Cultural, because now I'm in the jail system. Historical, that's in the past, man. That was where I was residing.
Located on the east coast of the country.
An official from South Korea's presidential office has told ABC News there is no update from their previous assessment, and that Seoul believes Kim is residing outside of the capital, Pyongyang, with AIDS in a normal state. Kim was last seen in public on April 11th, and a few days later conspicuously missed his late grandfather Kim Il-sung's birthday
They
celebrations.
identified me as a
Julie
female on my
McFarlane, ABC
passport.
News at the Foreign Desk, London.
French.
680 News Time 107. Celine Dion, Justin Bieber,
The
and
document was
Ryan
never
Reynolds
good.
are among the stars slated
Thank
to
you.
appear in a
I
Canadian
never noticed that.
COVID-19 broadcast benefit tonight.
Oh, for fuck's sakes, man. Where the fuck is the premiere?
It's a rocker. Check Saludian and shoot up, man. Nobody cares. We're in 2020, man. Get album.
So you have to add the NE, because without the NE, it's technically gender neutral. I know they say it's male, but in modern terms, it would be gender neutral. Oh, you don't like me saying that, do you? You don't like me pointing that out, do you? You specifically identified me as a female in the past. It says sex, male.
Yeah.
But here is the female spelling of Canadian. Oh, French is male and female spellings.
Try to tell you about me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas, no gun. Then I probably got a switchblade, nigga. And days go by, you see a man change, nigga. Point him out, let him go, cause he ain't the same, nigga. Yo, me, I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas, no gun. Then I probably have a switchblade, nigga. And days go by, you see a man change, nigga. Point him out, let him go, cause he ain't the same, nigga.
Niggas in the box like it's cardboard. Incarcerated Scarface thugs getting poked on the yard floor. Inside or out, I'm in the zone of a mob lord. Dressing all black like Darth Vader from Star Wars. We clipping up. 32 in the clipping up. Pop shit, my outlaws with me. It's time to hit them up. They bitch made shit hit the fan and had them switching up. A bomb broken out of place without a way to fix it up. A dead issue. Once official, now you mistake. Changing up when it gets deep. You fucking goof. Catch him back, I'm down first. Then you clutch and shoot. Treat it like the wire and fire. This nigga fucking Snoop. What? They got me on my cheesy loaf with a G-lock. Bunch of trade dudes bang out till they free eye. And anyone else trapped in an ice box. Peace to my night hot survivor.
Try to tell you about me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas, no gun. Then I probably got a switchblade, nigga. And the days go by, you see a man change, nigga. Point him out, let him go, cause he ain't the same, nigga. Yo, me, I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas, no gun. Then I probably have a switchblade, nigga. And the days go by, you see a man change, nigga. Point him out, let him go, cause he ain't the same, nigga.
I'm putting bitch niggas out. It's your choice to listen. It don't make it real because it's chains glisten. I don't speak much, I'm known to observe. Fuck niggas getting burned in the third. I kick to the curb to expose these fakes. I feel obligated. Same pussies calling niggas out. Got my house raided over jealousy and envy. Now I don't trust friendly. They try to stop my dreams, don't want to see me in the Bentley. Never do they want to stay in their lane. Trying to be what you not, boy, it's a shame. Just for a name, these niggas change on the regular. Only thing I trust is this Glock or this heckler. So hey, I expect from you. Sense bitchness, I cut you off, homie. Rather ride lonely than see you running hide on me. No niggas that be causing homicides only. Cause they can't take the chance of an attempt.
Try to tell you about me. I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas, no gun. Then I probably got a switchblade, nigga. And the days go by, you see a man change, nigga. Point him out, let him go, cause he ain't the same, nigga. Yo, me, I ain't fucking with no bitch made niggas, no gun. Then I probably have a switchblade, nigga. And the days go by, you see a man change, nigga. Point him out, let him go, cause he ain't the same, nigga.
I would refuse entry to anybody that showed me this. No, I never checked my own fucking passport to fucking see if it was real. Never thought to double check that shit. Monsieur.
In the world. No? Well, you're in luck. Watch Hot Docs at Home on CBC. Catch world premieres and new docs every week without ever leaving the couch. Hot Docs at Home on CBC. Thursdays at 8 on CBC and CBC Gym.
We're not gonna run it to the machine, sir. You need to go with your sticks. I would never let somebody anywhere that showed me this is ID.
Truck over on the right shoulder. No tow trucks on scene.
Oh, you Anglophones wouldn't fucking notice, eh?
Don Valley Parkway from top to bottom, and we're trouble-free in the Gardner-Queenie combination.
These two things don't happen at the same time ever on the fucking computer. How did you do that?
In the HOV lane as well as the 3 right lanes, so a bit of a bunch-up, but just through the construction itself. The northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401 is closed for construction. That's into the collectors. You can get into the express using the northbound Allen. If you're traveling east or westbound on the 401, you won't find any delays. However, there is construction eastbound on the 407 from east of Young to east of the 404. Only the left lane is open. The ramp to Leslie is closed for construction, and they've also closed the ramp to the 404. Zero HSU sale, plus save up to 60% off. Open online and by phone for easy curbside pickup. Get your new motorcycle with finance rates as low as 0%. GPBikes.com, your power sports authority. Your next report is at 121, and now with the forecast, here's Jason Fraser.
Well, right now we're seeing not only overcast skies, but some parts of the GTA are either seeing some drizzle or some light rain. And over the next couple of hours, we'll continue to see some scattered rain showers move across our area. Later on tonight, the rain will end, and then we'll be stuck with just partly cloudy skies and a low temperature right around 3 degrees. Now, tomorrow, we'll see some more sunshine, and we will, however, have a bit of cloud cover, but at least it will be slightly warmer. We're talking about a high of about 12 degrees. Right now in downtown Toronto, it is about 9 degrees, the guaranteed high 13 degrees.
680 News Time, 1:13. 13. Baking your own bread has become the top hobby during quarantine. Lord knows I still can't do it.
Crack, you fucking liars.
The hype of homemade bread.
I've never done it before, but I need the fucking money, eh?
I love bread, yet.
Oh, motherfuckers. The fuck is the premiere? Did he take the day off? Did I miss something? We got the education minister. We didn't get the premiere. Neither victims nor executioners. What the fuck? Basic Books Inc. Oh, you gotta love that. How military is that? Basic Books Inc. $9.95. $10. What do you get for $10? 1,000 pages? 500. Not bad. 2 cents a page if you think about it. Where the fuck is the music and the premiere? I could have left and just wandered off to whatever I wanted. Not really. Sunday, what's open? Church? No. Church ain't open. Warrior. The collective glory he makes possible. Oh, man. The warrior has always laid claim on our emotions. He has been celebrated by virtually all known cultures for his individual courage and for the collective glory he makes possible. He. The quest for such glory is in turn part of man's general struggle in the face of inevitable biological death for a sense of immortality. Believe in death? Really? Get the fuck out of here. Oh, I'm totally replaceable. You're not. Oh, the hero versus the socialized warrior. Wow, you people fucking write some weird shit. This is some Bati boy shit. It is a joyous thing is war. You love your comrade so in war. That sounds Roman. When you see that your quarrel is just and your blood is fighting well, tears rise to your eye. A great sweet feeling of loyalty and of pity fills your heart. By the way, why is this in English? On seeing your friend, why is this in English? So valiantly exposing his body to execute and accomplish the command of our Creator. And then you prepare to go and die or live with him, and for love not to abandon him. And out of that there arises such a delectation that he who has not tasted it is not fit to say what a delight it is. The fuck? Do you think that a man who does that fears death? Not at all, for he feels so strengthened, he is so elated that he does not know where he is. Truly, he is afraid of nothing. Jean de Boy in Le Jouvencel, fictionalized 15th century reconstruction of service under Joan of Arc. It's not even real. Where is the premiere?
Stay-at-home orders in place. Any workouts that take place would need to be voluntary and limited to individual sessions only. The league has also said it'll work with teams like the Raptors, who would not be able to open their practice facilities to try to make arrangements. Sports 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime at sportsnet.ca/590. 680 News Time 117. I'm here with Bill Coy of Coy Brothers, and we're talking about backpacking. I've got the trail mix. What are you bringing?
The Stihl BR450.
That sounds like a backpack blower, Bill.
You better believe it. The Stihl backpack blower has a powerful 2-stroke engine, perfect for commercial use or for the residential user who has a heavily treated lot or larger property. On sale for $549.
Buy online, pick it up curbside. Stihl is Stihl at Coy Brothers.
1919 Wilson Avenue, KOOYBROS.com.
We're asking a lot of those on the front lines of this pandemic, and they're stepping up.
I swear, if I go look for I can go 2 steps out my door. We're hearing from the premier right now.
Their best line of defense, and yours. And when their shift is over, the protective equipment provides one last assurance that it's safe to go home. Show your
your support at nursesknow.ona.org. A message from the Ontario Nurses Association.
ON.
680 News Time 118. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says hundreds of residents continue to die each day from COVID-19. And
You do the trillium hand sign? No, there's
This is
three
just terrible
hands.
news. 367 deaths, which is horrific. And there is no relative context to death.
Jersey. Which one?
Cuomo also reported that the number of hospitalizations topped 1,000 yesterday, but still, the numbers continue to fall from the days before. He also says the number of individuals put on a ventilator has dropped as well. To Italy now, where details are emerging on what the new normal will look like when the national lockdown due to the COVID-19 outbreak begins to lift.
Did we not cover Italy last night?
With
No, I
safe
didn't
social
talk much about
distancing
it.
now a
Don't lie.
requirement for restaurants and
Not from
cafes, that will mean
Italians, the
far fewer
Italian
customers, more
government,
dining al
World War II
fresco,
onwards,
and
not
perhaps
friendly
even
with-
plexiglass
what
shields separating diners, as one Rome restaurant is
Italians
already
like the Italian
exploring.
government from
This
World War
millennial
II.
echoed the
Somehow.
horror at that proposal expressed by many on social media. No, that is totally unromantic. I'm not going out to eat with plastic in my face, she says. But plexiglass barriers are also being considered by some private beaches. All summer sports, including beach volleyball, are expected to be banned. Megan Williams, ABC News, Rome.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will be back to work tomorrow following his hospitalization from COVID-19. British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, who has been acting for Johnson during his illness, said the Prime Minister has been taking part in meetings this week in order to prepare him for the big return.
He's going to be back at work full-time, properly at the helm on Monday. And as you can imagine, with the Prime Minister, he's raring to go.
Johnson's return comes amid growing criticism of the government's handling of the coronavirus outbreak. An Ontario-based marketing company is offering to adopt a small business in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Marty Fisher is the president of Sherpa Marketing, the ones behind the Adopt a Business campaign. He says it comes from a place of understanding, having also felt the financial stress of the pandemic. So they decided to choose one business in the region to provide them with $25,000 worth of marketing services.
We're looking to, help small business. So, we're looking at people, with under $800,000 in top line revenue. So
just go to sherpamarketing.ca and fill out a form before May 8th when you suffered significant losses during the pandemic. Fisher says other companies are also offering to adopt a business too, and others that are interested should reach out to him. Feed on 570 News.
Yeah, you're gonna get flooded with people that are almost millionaires, buddy. Do you know how irritating those people are?
Thank you, Cam. This report is brought to you by Queensway Hyundai. The only issue I'm seeing right now is on the southbound Don Valley Parkway south of Eglinton. There's a stalled vehicle sitting over on the shoulder. It's not causing any delay, just a bit of a visual distraction, but all in all, a pretty decent drive on the Don Valley Parkway, the Gardiner, the Queen Elizabeth Way. On the northbound 404, it's busy from the 407 to north of Highway 7. And that's all because of construction blocking not only the HOV lane, but the 3 left lanes as well. So everyone is being forced over to the right side. The northbound Allen Ramp to westbound 401 is closed because of construction. On the 407 eastbound, we have the ramps from Britannia westbound and from northbound Bramley to eastbound 407 closed. It's all for construction. The northbound Young and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 are closed. And on the eastbound 407 from east of Young to east of the 404, there's construction here. Only a single left lane is getting through. And because of that, eastbound 407 ramp to Leslie and ramp to the 404 also closed. On city streets, east and westbound Girard between Woodbine and Main, it's often on single lane construction here. They're doing some TTC track work, and that might be tying up traffic until about May 2nd. Buy with confidence at Queensway Hyundai, now offering purchase for home solutions, 6-month payment deferral and concierge services. Here to service the community. Visit queenswayhyundai.ca. Your next report is at 1:31, and now with the forecast, here's Jason Fraser.
Right now, a low-pressure system is slowly making its way northeastward, and that is the reason why some of us are seeing either overcast skies, some of us are also seeing some drizzle, and other part of our area is also seeing some light rain showers. Well, if you're not seeing any rain or haven't seen any rain just yet, you will before the end of today. The good news is overnight we'll see partly cloudy skies, and temperatures dipping down to the single digits. Tomorrow and Tuesday we'll see a mix of sunny clouds and a high temperature here, 12 degrees on both days. And Wednesday, that's when the moisture returns, and we'll also see it stick around for Thursday as well. And we'll see a high temperature on both days near 10 degrees. Right now at Pearson, it's 9 degrees. The guaranteed high is 13 degrees.
No, I'm not even checking the government phone number right now.
On time. Public schools in the province will stay closed until May 31st. But Education Minister Stephen Lecce says everyone will be able to finish the school year. And right now, summer school is not necessary. 680 News Time 123. Today's showstopper at TSC is your choice of the Apple iPad or the Apple
They won't even give us three-phase power that we paid for.
With a
They want us to have three single-phase lines so they can charge an extra service charge
deliver powerful immersive audio. Enjoy big savings today with 12 easy pay payments on either today's showstopper or both. Shop TSC.ca. Today's shopping choice.
Okay, the music never fucking started playing, did it?
The Toronto Zoo says it has raised more than $500,000 to help feed its 5,000 animals for the next 6 months. The
$500,000 for 5,000 animals, $100 a piece for 6 months.
Admissions income. The zoo has been closed since March 14th. Due to the pandemic, the zoo calls response from the public.
This is a fucking gold cost to the line.
It was in 680 News at 124. Several states in the South are beginning to reopen parts of their economies, while other states are seeing protests against governors who refuse to lift stay-at-home orders. Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer is one of those governors and says there are a number of things that need to happen for her to reopen her state.
We have to have robust testing. We have to have community tracing. We've got to have a plan for isolation for people that do get tested positive for COVID-19 in the future.
Whitmer says until those are in place, her stay-at-home order is saving lives. Mark Remillard, ABC News. And the first overall assessment of Canada's Arctic Ocean suggests the top of the world is turning upside down.
Lead scientist Andrea Nemi from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans says everything from ocean currents to the habits and types of animals that swim in the Arctic Ocean are in flux. She says changes are coming so fast, scientists don't even have a chance to figure out what's there in the first place. Scientists suggest 60% of the species in the ocean's Canada Basin are yet to be discovered. Meanwhile, sea ice is melting, familiar species are behaving in different ways, and new ones are moving in. Nemi says killer whales are already changing the habits of Arctic species such as belugas and seals. Maury Harris, the Canadian
You
Press.
lie. You see whales? You lie. The only whales you see are reporters.
Local 50 reminds you that most job site accidents involve young, inexperienced workers during their first 6 months of employment. In fact, around the world, a worker is killed every 30 seconds. April 28th is the annual International Day of Mourning. Even though special gatherings across the country have been canceled, please take a moment to remember those injured or killed and commit to a safer workplace. A special message of remembrance from the International Union of Elevator Constructors Local 50. Visit IUEC50.org.
Hey, why isn't your girlfriend drinking? I offered her one and she said no. She's not feeling well. She's fine. She's just pacing herself. Ah, she can't keep up with you. Man, look at the size of her. I've got a good 60 pounds on her. Of course she can't.
Studies show that when a man and woman drink the same amount of alcohol under the same conditions, a woman's blood alcohol level will be higher due to biological differences. Speak your mind. ChangeTheConversation.ca. Sponsored by Beer Canada.
680 News Time 126. Time now for the 680 News Business Report.
That's a government department here, eh? They don't have to be nationalized. They volunteer for the service.
Columbia that are pivoting to fight the coronavirus. City President and CEO Tamara Vrooman has the details.
Up to $150,000 for 6 months, of which will be at zero interest, and the balance of the loan at prime +3 to allow the necessary capital to flow for things like moving to online, to shifting business models. Some are like manufacturing or moving into the health sector for much needed sanitary and health supplies.
And for self-employed people who have been in business more than 2 years, Vrooman also says there are bridge loans up to $10,000.
People depositing into the GIC.
Bridge cash flow, but also make key investments maybe in setting up video conferencing capabilities, ability to connect with customers, clients, and business partners in ways that the pandemic no longer allows for self-employed people.
The money Van City is lending comes from a surge of members investing in a one-year term deposit with a 3% interest rate. Vrooman says it raised a little over $200 million in just under 6 weeks. But I asked her if this lending will affect the credit union's loan loss provisions.
We are very well capitalized and very liquid as a credit union. We have significant reserves that we've built up over the good times that we've experienced in our economy to be deployed exactly
$5 million a day came into
like
their
this,
accounts.
a proverbial rainy day. And I think if ever there was a rainy day, this is it.
Van City also has a federally chartered bank based in Toronto for institutional investors who want the same 3% on deposits of at least $250,000.
At GIC, which performs exactly the same way to the market outside of British Columbia, primarily in Ontario, for institutional investors.
Van City President and CEO Tamara Bruman. In the Business Center, I'm Richard Denton.
Corporate institutional
Canada's healthcare workers never expected to fight a battle like this. They're working around the clock, isolating from their families, risking their lives on a daily basis. That's why Hospital Foundation leaders all across the country come together to launch the Frontline Fund. Wait for
If the
Canadians
stock market
staying
does
at
good,
home
we'll
to
pay you
honor
X
frontline
percent
healthcare
more. If
workers
the
with
stock
additional
market does
supplies,
bad, we won't.
support, and
Are
research
you
funding
investing
to
in the
fight
stock market?
COVID-19.
No.
Support Canada's
Why
Frontline
did you
by
link it to the
donating
stock
now.
market?
Frontlinefund.ca.
Could you use $20,000? $30,000? How about $300,000? With a home equity loan from Capital Direct, the money you need, the money you could really use right now, is a simple phone call away. Compared to the banks these days, Capital Direct's lending criteria is not as strict. If you own property, Capital Direct can help. It's that simple. Call them today at 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL. CapitalDirect.ca.
Weather forecast you can bank on, because if we're off by more than 3 degrees,
You can win our growing cash jackpot. The 680 News Weather Guarantee. Enter online at 680news.com. Today, 12 degrees and some rain. Tomorrow, 13 and partly sunny. 680 News time, 1:30. Number one for news in Toronto. This is 680 News.
here are Cam Dorrit and Caitlin Lee.
I have a hard time believing my clock is
Sunday,
bouncing
April
back quickly
26th.
back and
Here's
forth.
what's making news right now. I'm sorry, parents, but you might be stuck with your kids for a little while longer. The Ford government announced that all publicly funded schools will remain closed until at least May 31st.
Not everyone is happy about the temporary pandemic pay increase for frontline workers. Paramedics say they're not included.
Answering your questions, Mayor John Tory talks struggles for renters and how to avoid a second wave of COVID-19. Tonight on City, Canadian rock stars want frontline workers to know.
I can see thingy right there. So the question, YouTube, why do I need access to all sorts of pages that I cannot actually go through to from here on the left side of the screen? But I'm totally fucking up what I'm doing right here. Why did you add those? That makes it really easy to fuck this shit up. No. You're not doing at all what I'm asking you to do. In fact, these are called commands.
Sit your little bitch ass down, nigga. Brought me from mayor, taking helicopters down with a little laser. And the cannon, I'm holding bigger than fucking mega. Yaga, the liquor put the shot to make you stagger. For my little brother, it's like he loves my partners. Real party boy, brown baby, y'all watch. With this empire, it's not like rocks. These are enemy lines, nobody can cross. How to take the rappers and in the battle
know you said to do it here like this. You're striking away from your face.
Renegade sick shit. Got me reading the word, cause I'm my victim lipstick. Fuck, get your same letters. Niggas know I'm running through the streets of beef. Let the hand burn, with the burner. No food surfing. Yeah, still M3G reppin'. Man, sitting in the field. Black 9 people. Taking your birth position like a reaper. Miller with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Miller with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Holding on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. I'm at the bar ordering a Heineken. Waiting for the street to fall back. I was timing them. Fronting them a double set of chat me run 9 and 10. MTK and Wild One. Nigga, we some wild men. Put together lots of.
Today, students remain safe and staff remain safe should they return to school some point this year or at any time beyond.
Lecce says that the government's #1 priority is still the safety of students. He adds that students may still go back to class before the end of the school year, but that all depends on how this pandemic unfolds. I'm Zahir Hashimi.
More than 8,000 people have now recovered from COVID-19 in the province, but hundreds of new cases and dozens of new deaths are still being reported today. 6 Cities' Michelle Matkey has the latest numbers and reaction from some frontline workers left out of yesterday's pay increase. She joins us live. Michelle.
Caitlin, it's not about the pay increase, it's about the lack of acknowledgement. That's the message from Dave Wakely, president of the Peel Paramedics Union, who says his members do not qualify for the province's temporary pandemic pay increase.
There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to why certain folks are excluded from it. Paramedics, respiratory therapists, midwives, all of whom don't seem to be covered by this.
You really want them to know who's this guy before they fucking help them?
Front lines to fight against COVID.
I reached out to the Premier's office and am expecting to hear back momentarily. Yesterday, of course, Ford announced the pay increase for qualifying frontline healthcare workers, including staff working in long-term care homes, emergency shelters, supportive housing, and some staff in hospitals. They will receive a $4 increase on top of existing hourly wages, and for those working over 100 hours a month, a lump sum payment of $250 every 4 weeks. Meantime, the Ministry of Health is reporting 24 more fatalities resulting from COVID-19,
That's almost like
bringing the provincial death toll to 835.
That's like
Today
$8 a day.
the first time there have been more recoveries in the province than new cases. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
You heard it right here this morning, an exclusive interview with Mayor John Tory answering your questions about COVID-19. The mayor says the chances of a second wave make reopening the economy a difficult decision. 6 Cities' Stuart McGinn reports.
It's what we've heard over and over. Returning back to any sense of normal life needs to be done slowly to avoid any possibility of a second wave of the virus.
You suddenly said tomorrow, for example, that you could have a Blue Jays game and you could have 50,000 people at the Rogers Center. That is going to promote a second wave happening.
Answering questions from 680 News listeners, Mayor John Tory said we'll all get a clearer idea in the coming days of how the city will take its step-by-step approach to recover from this pandemic. But as the struggle, mentally and financially, continues for so many, Tory spoke specifically to a difficult situation for renters, asking landlords to be accommodating as we inch closer towards the 1st of May.
I think a simple proposition like saying we'll allow you to take a month off your May payment or cut it in half and spread the rest of it out is a very reasonable thing.
The mayor added, it's important to
cut it in half. You're just half.
Setup, because there's no way we'll see the entire city get back to their normal work life all at once. I'm Stuart McGinn.
680 News Time.
It took me 4 or 5 fucking hours to cover everything I wanted to cover.
It's the final day for commercial flights between Canada and the U.S. Last week, Air Canada announced it was suspending service to the U.S. after both countries agreed to extend restrictions on cross-border travel for another 30 days. Non-essential travel between Canada and the U.S. was banned as of March 21st, though the border has remained open for trade and commerce. Service will resume May 22nd, barring another extension of further restrictions.
It's not fully closed. It's not fully open.
Time 1:37. While most of the focus has been on businesses in the midst of the economic fallout from the pandemic, religious institutions across Canada are also feeling the financial strain. Many churches, temples, mosques, and synagogues rely on donations and rental fees. And with physical distancing restrictions preventing large gatherings, those payments have taken a hit. Several institutions have applied for federal wage subsidy programs to allow them teams of staffers on their payrolls to perform virtual services, provide counsel, and outreach to vulnerable members of their communities.
It's just in case
You're
two people
listening to
die, like a
680
married
News
couple,
at
they can each have 5 friends.
1:37.
Well,
We're
otherwise,
looking
they
for you
fight over
getting
that
answers to
too.
questions you have about COVID-19. A question we've been getting frequently is, how bad is it if you get infected? 61-year-old Wayne Morrison from Pickering contracted COVID-19, but he's not sure where. He tells Darren and Mo on 98.1 CHFI it's very scary to have the disease, and there were times he worried about his life.
When you start getting worse, I mean, I had all the symptoms except for two, which was the heavy breathing and the sort of like heavy chest. It's almost like they describe it as a heart attack feeling. They were the only 2 symptoms I had to keep an eye out for. All the other symptoms I had. So, yeah, you do. At times when you have the fever, you're sweating, you can't eat, yeah, you start worrying. You think, am I going to be one of those cases that end up in the hospital? So fortunately, knock on wood, I haven't, it didn't get to that.
Normally, if you're lucky and you got sickle cell, you might go to the hospital in a crisis. Now, that's a death sentence. You're immunocompromised.
Call our listener line at
Don't go to the fucking
416-872-6800.
Do not go to the fucking hospital.
680 News Sound 138, North Korea's Kim Jong-un has not been seen publicly in weeks, which is leading to speculation he may be in poor health or even dead, as TMZ reported yesterday. North Korea is so guarded that it's notoriously difficult to gather information, 682 Key reports. April 11th was the last time Kim Jong-un was seen publicly. Now, TMZ, citing media outlets in China and Japan, is reporting that he is either dead or brain dead. A Hong Kong-based news network is reporting that he is in fact dead. And a Japanese magazine says he is in a vegetative state with no chance of recovery. Earlier this week, CNN reported Kim Jong-un was in, quote, grave danger after botched surgery. When asked about his condition, President Trump gave little weight to those reports.
We don't know. We don't know. I've had a very good relationship with him. I wouldn't...
We don't know.
I wish him well, because if he is in the kind of condition that the reports say, that the news is saying, there'll be that's a very serious condition, but I wish him well.
For definitive confirmation on Kim Jong-un's health, the world will likely have to wait until North Korea puts out a statement. I'm Joey
King. I'm going to
Keeney.
put out a statement.
Now, the 680 News gas price update and process. The price of the pump did not change at midnight, holding at 82.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations. And a reminder for transit riders, there's no subway service on the young line between Shepherd and St. Clair.
Korean popping up all over the fucking world. That's all you're going to see.
Being right matters.
So if our weather forecast is off by more than 3 degrees,
you could win cash.
But I smoke weed and drink coffee and smoke cigarettes and work to keep their mouths shut.
So, you're moving to a new home, and all that's left to do is to call a mover you can trust.
Where the fuck's the premier? They're not putting them on today, are they? I'm a fucking
leave. They have lots of men and lots of trucks. They'll wrap, pack, and move everything you want. With the 96% referral rating and the professionalism you can trust, the choice is simple. We're 2 men in a truck. We're open for business.
Yeah, but you got a shitload of trucks, so really you got... Yeah, I guess that keeps the payroll simple, right?
Fiberglass windows and doors. I am proud to be living and working here in the Greater Toronto area. All of us are so lucky
everything you do is one or two, right?
Community, province, and country. At this time, I feel it is important to remind all our friends, family, and employees to keep an eye on one another, especially the most vulnerable. Let's also come together in support of the heroes on the front lines. Together, we will get through this. Thank you.
That hotel room, that's your business. Just pay the fucking party.
680 News Time, 1:41. Time for traffic and weather together on the ones. Here is Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Breakfast Club of Canada. If you're traveling on the northbound 404, expect a delay from the 407 to north of Highway 7, and that's where we have construction here blocking the HOV lane, and then the 3 left lanes are also closed, so everyone is being forced over to the right. So that's what's causing this minor delay. On the southbound Don Valley Parkway, south of Eglinton, there's a stone there over on the right shoulder, something to watch out for. It looks like the doors are open, so you just want to be careful through that area. No problem. So on the 401 across the GTA, one exception is the northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401. Collectors closed for long-term construction. We have construction also on the eastbound 407, the westbound Britannia and northbound Bramley ramps to eastbound 407 are closed. The northbound Young and north and southbound Bayview ramps to eastbound 407 have been closed. And we have this construction eastbound 407 from east of Young over to east of the 404. That's where only the left lane is getting through this whole area. So they've also closed the eastbound 407 ramps to Leslie and to the 404. Breakfast Club of Canada is helping children facing food insecurity during the COVID-19 crisis with the creation of an emergency fund. To donate, text club to 20222. Thank you. Your next report is at 151. And now with a look at the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Right now we have lots of clouds in around the GTA, and they extend from our area all the way down to the state of Tennessee. And this is all associated with a low pressure system that is going to be sticking around for at least a couple of hours. So we'll continue to see some rain showers develop in around the area later on tonight.
The wind's going the other fucking way. How is it
low temperature right around 3 degrees. Tomorrow, it'll be a much better day because it looks supposed to be sun. And we'll see a high temperature of about 12 degrees. Right now it's 9 degrees at Pearson. Guaranteed high 13 degrees.
680 News Time 143. Tonight on City TV, the biggest names in Canadian entertainment will be gathering for a special show of support to those keeping us safe in the COVID-19 pandemic. And
but the weather's coming from there or there. But the wind's going that way.
The Canada Strong concert.
Sam Roberts is joining in with what could be the unofficial theme song for getting through this pandemic.
Who owns that? I don't own that. I don't own that. I'm not even attempting to make any type of exemption to any copyright law whatsoever. You can have it. I don't want that. I don't think you can tag a 2-second piece of a song. But
Canadian athletes, including Bianca Andreescu.
No. You own your use of your name, but you don't own your name. They can spit your name all they want, but they can't put your name on a product that you didn't actually approve of. But they can spit your name all they want. There's nothing to do about it.
Something's always coming up. Home improvements, kids' education, car repairs, credit card bills. Maybe you even saw a real deal on an investment property. Well, don't wait for the money to fall from the sky. Call Northwood Mortgage and start taking care of business. Use your home to save money. Pay off your mortgage faster.
French. CENT is 100. CENTS is cents, hundreds. But pennies, not hundreds. There's no S in the French. The song, CENT, 200, there's no S.
In Canada, on average,
25 cents
are killed every day in work-related incidents. Many more are injured or become sick
but
from
the problem with the French is they don't have a word for entrepreneur.
of Ontario points out that April 28th is International Day of Mourning, a day to remember those killed or injured. On April 28th, let's pause to remember those lost or hurt while working and commit to a safer workplace. A message from the membership of UA Local 853, Sprinkler Fitters of Ontario. Visit ualocal853.org.
This is very good.
680 News.
It is 9 degrees, some rain falling, feels like 5 in downtown Toronto from the 680 News Broadcast Center. I'm Kate Lindley. Here are the top stories this hour. Schools will be shuttered until at least the end of next month. Education Minister Stephen Lecce confirming the closure will stay in place until May 31st on advice from health officials, but says it will not impact graduation. There's no need to extend the school year. John Tory asking landlords to be accommodating during this pandemic. In an exclusive Q&A this morning on 680 News, the mayor answered what you wanted to know about COVID-19. And left out of pandemic pay, paramedics and respiratory therapists are frustrated after seeing their glaring omission from a $4 an hour boost for those in the front lines of the COVID-19 crisis.
Well, it's been a while since I was actually paying attention
to that weather station. Sports from Sportsnet 590 fan. Here's Brent Gunning.
The Saints are busy. The day after the draft, first they re-signed Taysom Hill to a 2-year, $21 million deal. $16 million of that is guaranteed. On top of that, they also bring in Jameis Winston on a 1-year, $3.5 million contract. Winston was the #1 pick in the 2015 draft and was not re-signed by the Buccaneers. Of course, that is Tom Brady's new home. As for Brady's old team, the Patriots did not draft a quarterback, but are expected to sign Jamar Smith out of Louisiana Tech. Perhaps the biggest move of the draft was the 49ers acquiring tackle Trent Williams for a 5th and 3rd rounder from Washington. And as early as Friday, the NBA will permit teams to open their practice facilities if those teams, local governments, have these stay-at-home orders.
That's why I don't turn it into the scrapyard either, because they're selling it to people to use
like the Raptors, who will be unable to open their facilities. Sports 15 and 45 minutes every
And
hour.
of course,
or
that gets
anytime.
it dispersed all over our land conveniently.
680 News Time 147. Dear Real Canadian Superstore,
Oh,
no
you
frills
killed
customers.
off the
Flyers
grassy
are now
meadows, didn't
digital
you?
only. Please
But I
know that
think
low price
Micmac
commitment is
style,
still the
if
number
you
one
killed all the
priority, and they're
Micmac,
still
whoever
providing
moved
great
to our
weekly
land
promotions
would
and
become a
offers.
Micmac.
Find them in store
So
on
I'm gonna become a grassy
superstore.ca,
meadows warrior,
nofrills.ca,
kill
and in the
everybody
PC
involved
Optimum
in
app.
this shit.
Hey, I'm Tom Power. You might be looking for something to take your mind off of things. Well, every Sunday we're doing a TV show from my living room where we talk to artists, athletes, frontline workers, and you just about how you're holding
Quicksilver,
up.
but it's
We're
red.
calling it
How'd
after
you
something
turn
we say to one
Quicksilver
another
the color
back in
of
Newfoundland.
the beard?
What do you at? Watch What Do You At tonight at 8 on CBC and CBC Gem. So join me and come on over. Just not literally.
Dear Real Canadian Superstore, no frills customers. Flyers are now digital only. Please know that low price commitment is still the number one priority, and they're still providing great weekly promotions and offers. Find them in store on superstore.ca, nofrills.ca, and in the PC Optimum app. 680 News Time 148. Netflix doing well these days. The company says it had 182.9 million paid subscribers globally at the end of the first quarter. So with all of us staying inside, well, almost all of us, what is keeping us entertained on the popular streaming platform? 680's Lucas Castelletto has the details.
With all of us staying inside, well, almost all of us, what is keeping us entertained on Netflix these days? Well, it comes down to two wildly popular 2020 releases, Tiger King and Love is Blind.
Ladies and gentlemen, before you hear it on the news, I'm going to tell you myself about an hour ago we had an incident where one of the employees stuck their arm through the cage and a tiger tore her arm off. I can give you your money back.
This wasn't real.
Remarkably, Tiger King has already generated 64 million views and counting this month alone. To put that into perspective, the limited series was released to Netflix on April 3rd. For its part,
I know two ingrown hair fucking channels. One with 40 million views and one with 60 million views. It's 100 million. Oh, over. That's 105 million views.
I'm Lucas Castelletto.
Hey, I'm looking at my phone thinking I could click all these motherfuckers.
Andrew Cuomo says 367 more people have died from COVID-19 in the state. He calls the number horrific, but it was less than half the daily number recorded at the height of the health crisis. He also says that other virus-related numbers continue to drop.
Overall hospitalization rate is down. The number of intubations is down. Even the number of new COVID cases is down. Still not good. Still 1,000 new COVID cases yesterday.
The deaths recorded yesterday included 349 patients who died in hospital and 18 who died in nursing homes. Antibody testing is being touted by some as the key to reopening the economy and the COVID-19 crisis, but experts are now saying a positive result from the test can't be considered a get-out-of-jail-free card for those who wish to stop physical distancing. Testing for COVID-19 antibodies reveals whether a person has been infected with the virus at some point in the past. A virus expert from Louisiana State University tells NBC a positive test does not mean you're immune. Experts predict it could take up to a year or more to determine whether immunity lasts for weeks, months, years, or a lifetime. 680 News Time 151. Time for traffic and weather together on the line. Let's check in with Christine Lycos.
This report is brought to you by Rona. I'm just looking at this delay on the northbound 404. It's the only delay I'm seeing is from the 407 to north of Highway 7. The HOV lane and 3 left lanes are closed because of construction. So it's just going through the construction zone itself. Once you pass that, everything takes up. And on the southbound Don Valley Parkway south of Eglinton, still have a stalled vehicle sitting on the right shoulder, something to watch out for. The Gardner Quickie combination is excellent shape east and westbound. Northbound Allen ramp to the westbound 401 collectors closed because of construction. Long-term, as a matter of fact. Eastbound on the 407 from east of Young to east to the 404, only a single left lane is getting through this area, and that too is because of construction. So for that reason, eastbound 407 ramps to Leslie and to the 404, they're also closed. We have off and on single lane track work affecting east and westbound Girard between Woodbine and Maine. To help you stay safe and at home, Rona is offering free parcel shipping and curbside pickup with online purchases at Rona.ca. Your next report is at 2:01. And now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, right now we're seeing mostly cloudy skies across the GTA. Some parts of our area are continuing to see some light rain showers. Don't be concerned about that. We're not expecting heavy rain showers today. It's going to be one of those just annoying light rain showers that you're looking up at the sky and wondering, is it going to go away or is it going to actually fully rain? Later on this evening, we'll see mostly cloudy skies, and I think overnight, that's when we'll finally see the storm move eastward, and we'll see partly cloudy skies after that, and the temperature dip down to a low of about 3 degrees. Tomorrow and Tuesday, that's when we'll see a mix of sun and clouds. High temperature on both days is right around 12 degrees. And then for Wednesday, we're going to have a low pressure system that's going to move through our region, and that's going to give us some rain, not only on Wednesday, but also Thursday. Both days we'll only see a high temperature right around 10 degrees. Right now at Pearson, it's 9 degrees, guaranteed high, 13 degrees.
This extended forecast is brought to you by Dynamic Funds. In times like these, we could all use advice, especially when it comes to investing. Advice matters now more than ever. Speak to a financial advisor and learn more at dynamic.ca/advice.
David Jones here from Hire the Gardener. Yes, we're still open during COVID-19. The Gardener has put extreme measures in place to keep you and our staff safe, and are only providing contactless essential services. Just watch and wave to us through the window. With that in mind, help us honor a hero.
I can't remember the name of the operation I got caught in.
Frontline worker who could win free service this season. Help us thank the people keeping us safe. Visit HireTheGardener.com.
What you need to know. Breaking news.
It's a massive weather system expanding from Texas to the Maritimes. Traffic.
Just pull over Highway 400 and southbound 400 slow.
I think it was H5N7 and H7N9 or some shit.
This moisture-laden Texas low has triggered widespread rainfall warnings across the GTA.
When you need to know.
One of those motherfuckers comes back over and over.
680 News.
A digital first for the Rolling Stones. Christopher Watson of ABC News explains.
Ghost Town. There's 2 minutes to the business report. I'm not listening to that shit. Little bloodsuckers.
Yeah, rifles like the Irishman. Used to call me Benjamin. Charlie was a rider man. Niggas try to end me for the money, call a fireman. I put my fucking flamer. Go ahead and try to take that. All means do you. I'm creeping through the field, shot the solo. Cruising in the Subaru. Murder gang group on dogs and give up bobos. You lose. Trying what kind of like blue shoes. This is when you receive to the highest shooters to whack you. Right now, I'd rather smack that. Don't even attempt, but won't tap that. Really out of rap time. Slap the kids so hard, I point a wonder, call them Matthew. Subliminal. Murder gang squad in the fact I set it up to win no box. You brought the fuck on my dialect. My number, you ain't dial yet. That judge ain't fired. By the end of this track, a motherfucker buying it. That bitch holds ranges and a couple 45s in it. Catch a couple cases, but I'll beat him if he hiding it. In the L spot, nigga, known for the kill shot. Cause I'm the nigga that shot Jack and chill out the hilltop. Lil Red Rider Hood was Rider Hood, the song blew her up now. She riding through the hood. Woody Woodpecker was the fat one. Batman got shirts and panties up for his pants. Spidey was the swinger. Wolverine is a nigga that's obvious that I ain't gotta mention that spinner. Wanna match a shredder in my map with Deadpool, blast and cheddar. Trying to make out is better. Yeah, I'm sitting in the vehicle, plotting on people. Taking your practice possession like a reaper. Kneeling with the hammer. Tim Tebow. Calling on the hammer. Call it Home Depot. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Everything I'm doing is illegal. Kneeling with the hammer. Call it Tim Tebow. Calling on the hammer. Call it Home Depot.
They don't feed army. So I'm totally the perfect vector, right? What do I care? Let him fucking... Let them, right? No. Can't be having this. Oh, blood spots everywhere. No, the reason I show this at all is how the fuck is this coming into my life? You understand? I've seen them. I need monophone. I gotta fucking get home delivery of monophone. Someone, can you pick up a pizza to Kinder Domino's? I'm calling back taxi. I need a special order.
pay extra. You tell them quote me a price. I pay extra. I need a pizza and monophone. Monophone? Where's monophone? No. You go to Home Hardware, they already have it at the sidewalk for you. They just get to the window. No. How much money, motherfucker?
In the storm breeze, I'm striking fast. Bringing sadness, like my past. Make it too close, make it trash. My soul is dark, I wanna fight it fast. I wanna hot beat, I'm righteous fast. I'm with class on these mics and smashing this battle. I'm feeling non-existent and it's making me cold blood, I got a roll somehow. Calm now, like a bomb now. Think you smart, let me show you something. Throw it all down, what's going on now? You don't have for me to fucking see you later. You a fish swimming, I'm an alligator and I'm hungry too. For the less of food, so I take you out. I'm the Terminator, so it's no love, no fun. Forget the pain when I roll up. So low when it's so good. So low, I'm so low.
Camouflage boots. Camouflage jackets.
All the money cash, get these dummies mad, but it still got me feeling empty. Put them in the bag and then I get them dragging out, satisfy me plenty.
I looked here 4 fucking times and I just found body. And his little friend.
Just let me think.
Ooh. That's about a centimeter by about an inch.
Just let me think. Just let me think. Slow down, muscle hold now. I need a prayer. What's the poke now? I don't know how I can cope now. This isn't fair. Push the dope now. I'm on the road now to get my dough now. And I don't care who the roast now, who a ghost now. I don't know now, but I'm prepared. On the move, I got on my group. I look at me and then I look at you. You lived a lie, I heard deep inside. God damn, no ain't got the truth. I just smashed the roof so you can watch it. From now on, nobody's stopping me, and I'm serving you with this big spear, showing off my generosity. These thoughts in my mind is racing throughout the dirt. My love is seeing like a deck of cards. You shuffle around my mind. Believe me right, I believe this type. I ain't the name type, and I was in the shot spinning on my phone. All the time I spent, leaving everyone behind this shit. Cause I'm never sensing another laugh to snip. Got me wanting to fucking die and shit. Why ration this? Cause I'm a king of wars. Putting numbers on a fucking board. My team of 11 squares and we can bring them back and they control the rap with a motherboard. There's a dragon looming and when he's shooting, best believe it's been fire shit.
It's been a reflex. All over the open fucking all over the open fucking world. And then red dots everywhere.
Just let me think. Just let me think. Okay, just see. I don't know why. Just let me think. Just let me think. Been on the low now, not slow down, lost a hope now. I need a prayer. What's the poke now? I don't know how I can cope now. This isn't fair. Put the dope now. I'm on the road now to get my dough now. And I don't care who the roast now, who a ghost now. I don't know now, but I'm prepared.
I don't need any chemical pesticides. We're probably only a couple months old. We're gonna die soon. There's a nice blood smear. Yeah, they trick you. You think you got it. You must have got it. No. The problem with these Timberlands, there's big gaps between the lugs. It's the only problem is when it comes to killing bugs, you gotta hit them 10 fucking times. Well, I don't think we're here for the premiere.
North of the 404 from the 407 to
We're gonna hear from the premiere today.
Yeah, y'all already know what it is, man. Show only AK about pace with D Black, BDS, Cinco. Y'all already know what it is. Right now, I'm rocking out my nigga M1, AK Mover, man. Boy got bars, man. Young nigga too, man. 17 years old, getting it in, getting it real. He got bars, man. That's all I'm gonna say, man. Y'all already know, man. If I co-sign this shit, I co-sign this
all by itself, not touching anything. on a wire, a metal one, a metal bar, not touching nothing.
To attackers.
The 60 big motherfuckers in there. Where the fuck were they hiding this morning when I fucking cleared it out the first
This is real life shit, can't change it for an instant. Blood, sweat, and tears, now everyone's against it. Trying to step in our way, man, your ass will get popped. Got homies on every corner, none afraid to get shot. You hear it drop, here comes the end of your life. Hollow points cutting through you like the edge of a knife. It's getting harder to see, step away from the light. Cause I'm the devil in disguise, I stole your soul tonight. What? I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise, I stole your soul tonight. I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. I stole your soul tonight. I'm the devil in disguise. I stole your soul tonight. What? Yeah, I stole your soul tonight. Devil in disguise. Stole your soul tonight. As you wake up in the dark and not realizing I'm there, go ahead and reach for the light. You won't find one there. This is the darkness inside, mixed with the pain that you feel. Hear the voices calling out another soul to conceal. See the tears in the eyes that can cause the pain. Staring at yourself blindly, can't remember the name. Call me whatever you like, but let it be told. I'm the devil in disguise and the possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, the devil in disguise, yeah, possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, I'll be the devil in disguise, the possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, I'll be the devil in disguise, the possessor of souls. The possessor of souls, devil in disguise, the possessor of souls. Feel the pain in your chest, yeah, that's me coming back, being possessed by the devil is the life that I have. A possessor of souls, another light in the dark. Hear the footsteps in the night, now your ass is in shock. Go ahead and hide, try to make no sound. I know your every thought and action, so you're bound to be found. I'm getting closer. Can you feel my presence here? Cause I'm the devil in disguise, the only person you fear. The only person you fear, I'll be the devil in disguise, the only person you fear. The only person.
Qualified staff isn't done yet.
Oversight.
If that's not the case, then it kind of feels like a level of disrespect being paid to my members and the work that they're doing.
Wakely also notes respiratory therapists and midwives were left out of qualifying staff. Regardless, he says paramedics' primary objective is to continue to deliver core services to the people who need them. I've been in touch with the Premier's office regarding this matter and am expecting a response. The province currently outlines qualified healthcare personnel as staff working in long-term care homes, corrections institutions, supportive housing, and some staff in hospitals, to name a few. Meantime, Ontario is reporting 437 new cases of COVID-19 today, the lowest daily increase in over a week, bringing the provincial total over 14,000. 24 more fatalities have also been confirmed, bringing Ontario's death toll over 800, while 8,000 people have now recovered. Reporting live, I'm Michelle Mackey.
It's tiny, which means it's got another year to go before it
Toronto
can
has
breathe.
opened 11 new facilities and secured more than 1,200 hotel rooms to house people who would normally use the city's shelter system. The city is also working on helping those in shelter system gain access to permanent homes with Toronto's community housing. 73 people have been moved out of the shelter system and into permanent homes so far. Multiple shelters in the city have already experienced outbreaks of COVID-19.
You're listening to 680 News at 2:06. They're calling it the biggest multi-platform broadcast event in Canadian history. Stronger Together airs tonight in support of COVID-19 relief.
Motherfucker. So you can't literally get 6:66 p.m., but you can get 6:06 p.m., right? Oh, you're fine. Because it's 6:06 and the 6. I know there's nothing left in there. I know because I can't smell them, eh? If they were in here, I'd know it. There's nothing. I already turned the sleeves inside out twice, eh?
Food Banks Canada, and then a virtual ensemble performance that will be released right after the show. Proceeds from that going to the Canadian Red Cross. I'm Simon Bennett.
Tim Hortons is honoring the 22 lives lost in the tragic shooting in Nova Scotia. The Nova Scotia Strong Donut is now on sale. 100% of the proceeds are being donated to the Canadian Red Cross Stronger Together Nova Scotia Fund.
23 last week, now it's
Crosby
22.
and Nathan McKinnon have partnered with Tim Hortons for the launch.
100% of the proceeds will go to a Canadian Red Cross fund supporting the families impacted.
Why the Red Cross? Why not sell this now?
The donut goes on sale across Canada on Wednesday.
Why the Red Cross?
You're listening to 680 News. Cyclists from across the city participating in a 24-hour virtual bike ride on a stationary bike from their homes to raise money for healthcare workers at Michael Garron Hospital this weekend. The Crush COVID Cycling fundraiser was organized by Toronto Hustle and the Hospital. The event was hosted on the cycling platform Swift and Zoom. The event began at 6 o'clock on Friday and continued until 6 o'clock yesterday. Money raised in the event supported frontline healthcare workers. Last check, over $165,000 was raised.
Groups of volunteers across Canada are using 3D printers to produce personal protective equipment and other essential supplies. Organizers say it's an effort that could have a lasting impact even after the COVID-19 crisis passes. These makers are volunteering their expertise, time, and tools to produce gear used on the front lines of the fight against the pandemic, drawing on open source designs and creating their own. After going through testing, the products have been approved for use in hospitals, long-term care homes, and other frontline facilities. The federal government has called on companies and organizations that don't typically make medical supplies to join the cause.
Labatt Brewery is doing its part to help during the pandemic. Labatt has announced it will provide 223,000 cans of drinking water to the city to supply the Toronto Drop-In Network and its Streets to Home program. John Tory commended Labatt's involvement, saying, "I want to thank Labatt Breweries of Canada for their commitment to donate cans of drinking water to help our most vulnerable citizens who are impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic." Labatt says this will allow service providers to distribute drinks along with takeaway meals while maintaining public health guidelines for appropriate physical distancing.
It's the final day for commercial flights between Canada and the U.S. Last week, Air Canada announced it was suspending service to the U.S. after both countries agreed to extend restrictions on cross-border travel for another 30 days. The airline says chartered flights have repatriated more than 6,000 stranded Canadians from Morocco, Spain, and Ecuador, among other countries. The airline says the suspension of service will last until May 22nd. Flights will resume afterwards if no further border restrictions are announced.
Crazy shit they talk about.
The health of North Korea's leader continues. South Korea's government has now said Kim Jong-un is staying in a rural area, and no unusual development has been detected.
There is mounting speculation surrounding the North Korean leader, who has not been seen in public since 2 weeks ago on April 11th, missing an important celebration of his late grandfather's birthday. A monitoring group released satellite photos appearing to show a train believed to belong to Kim parked outside his compound on the East Coast since last week.
Speculation often surfaces about North Korea's leadership based on attendance at important state events.
Trust 680 News for what you need to know on the coronavirus.
Listen 3, 4, 5 times a day on your radio.
680news.com.
The Radio Player Canada app.
Or ask to play 680 News on your smart speaker.
Time now for the 680 News gas price update. Denpro says the price at the pump did not change at midnight, holding at 82.9 cents a liter at most GTA stations.
680 News time 210. We're asking a lot of those on the front lines of this pandemic, and they're stepping up. But fighting spirit isn't enough. Nurses and healthcare professionals need the proper personal protective equipment to stay safe. It's their own.
The crazy white American politician girl was right. You can see Russia from Alaska. It's not bullshit. You gotta be up high.
It's safe to go home. Show your support at nursesknow.ona.org. A message from the Ontario Nurses Association.
How much money would you like to save?
Everything.
Doing something you're
Free everything.
15 or 25%? How about 30%?
They want free rent, they want free internet, they want free cable, they want free gas, they want free insurance, benefits, they want free benefits.
30% just by driving Civic. Visit allstate.ca or call a local agent for a quote today and see just how much you can save when you drive safe with Allstate.
Search Save 30% with Allstate for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
Two 11.
Time for traffic and weather. It's got on the line. Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by Lowe's. If you're traveling on the southbound Don Valley Parkway, just watch out. South of Eglinton, we have a stalled van over on the right shoulder, and it looks like police have arrived on scene. So it's causing a bit of a visual distraction. But there is no delay on the Don Valley Parkway at this time. And just having a look at the Gardner and the Queen Elizabeth Way, everything is moving at the limit. The only bunch up I'm seeing is on the northbound 404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7, where the HOV lane as well as the 3 left lanes are closed off because of construction. Also, we have the northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401 collectors closed for repairs. And if you're traveling on the eastbound 407, no access from westbound Britannia or northbound Bramley. They're closed for construction. And then beyond that, on the eastbound 407, east of Young to east of the 404, only the left lane is getting through because of construction. So they closed the northbound Young and Bayview ramps to eastbound 407, as well as the eastbound 407 ramps to Leslie and to the 404. To help you stay safe at home, Lowe's is offering free parcel shipping and curbside pickup with online purchases at Lowe's.ca. Your next report is at 2:21. And now with the forecast, here is Jason Fraser.
Well, just looking outside, it makes you really want a repeat of yesterday when we saw lots of sunshine. Today, we're not going to see the sun at all. As a matter of fact, the only thing we're going to see today is just some light rain and even some drizzle in some parts. The good news is this will be a fast-moving system. I think by the overnight hours after midnight, we'll see partly cloudy skies and a low temperature going down to about 3 degrees. And for tomorrow, we'll see a mix of sun and clouds and a high temperature of about 12 degrees. Right now at Pearson, it's 9 degrees. The guaranteed high is 13 degrees.
60 kilometer hour.
680 News Time 2:13 with the NBA suspended. Commissioner Adam Silver has said no decision will be made on the future of the season before May 1st, but some teams are going to slowly reopen their doors.
No decision's been made about the future of the suspended NBA season, but our partners at ESPN say the league is allowing teams that are based in areas that have begun to reopen to allow their players back into facilities to work out. ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski says teams would prefer players work out in their facilities, but he says some executives are still hesitant.
General manager I talked to yesterday said, I don't want my players in anybody's facility. I don't want to run other players. I don't want someone to get sick in this instance. I still think we're rushing back into this.
Those buildings will be allowed to reopen Friday. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Unifor Local 414 reminds you that most job site accidents involve young, inexperienced workers during their first 6 months of employment. In fact, around the world, a worker is killed every 30 seconds. April 28th is the annual International Day of Mourning. Even though special gatherings across the country have been canceled, please take a moment to remember those injured or killed and commit to a safer workplace. A message from Unifor Local 414, where job safety is their #1 priority.
We all have a part in this. And regardless if what you do is considered essential, or you simply need to pick up a few essentials for your family, getting you there is important to us. That's why at Toyota, we're taking the necessary safety measures to ensure our parts and service departments remain operational to keep you moving forward safely and reliably. Because if others depend on you, you can depend on us.
Hey, once you're dead, we're all black or white, depending on how you look at it.
For more information.
This is All News Radio, 680 News. It's 9 degrees and cloudy. Good afternoon from the 680 News Broadcast Center in downtown Toronto. I'm Cam Torres.
And I'm Caitlin Lee. Here are the top stories this hour.
All schools will be shut down. Clean it up. In the province until at least May 31st. Education Minister Stephen Lecce says that until there is a clear and concise green light from health officials, schools across the province will remain closed. However, you will be able to graduate on time. Means no summer school. You can't make everyone happy. The paramedics union speaking out after many of their members
suddenly have summer school in the midst of
pay increase for frontline workers. It comes to the province reports 437 new cases of COVID-19 and 24 new deaths. 680 News Time 2:15. And time now for 680 Sports and from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here's Brent Gunning.
The Saints are taking care of their quarterback today. Jason Hill re-signed on the 2-year, $21 million deal Well, the top pick from 2015, Jameis Winston, signs with New Orleans as a backup on a one-year, $3.5 million deal. Starting Friday, the NBA will take one step closer to returning to play. On Friday, teams will be allowed to open their practice facilities if their local government doesn't have stay-at-home orders in place. Group workouts will not be allowed. All workouts will have to be voluntary. The league plans to try to work with teams like the Raptors, who will not be able to open their facilities. It won't be simple, though, according to Adrian Wojnarowski.
What that's going to look like is going to be really, I think, a complex rollout here over the next couple weeks for the league and for teams.
The Raptors are unable to open their training facilities because of Ontario's state of emergency. Sports 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime. It's Sports.
So then for the rest of you can't either except being unfair advantage. Fuck yeah, we'll sue you, bastards. The news will shoot you.
1-877 cars for kids.
Okay, my lord.
1-877 cars for kids. Donate
You're buddy shit today.
Donate online at carsforkids.ca. That's cars with a K. Pickup is quick and easy. You'll benefit a child and get a maximum tax credit.
1-877 cars for kids. Donate your car.
Also accepting boats, motorcycles, RVs, and truck donations.
Boats, motorcycles, RVs, trucks.
Equity value in your home. With Capital Direct, equity equals flexibility for homeowners. Flexibility to finance your business. Flexibility to renovate your home. Or flexibility to pay off other bills like credit cards or property taxes. If you've got something you would like to take care of, call Capital Direct today at 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL and see what's available for you. CapitalDirect.ca.
680 News Time 218. A marketing company is making a generous offer to adopt a business during the pandemic.
We're not a restaurant. We're not a garment company. There's not a lot we can do to kind of help on the healthcare front.
That's Marty Fisher, the president of Sherpa Marketing, who says they want to help small businesses that have been hit hard by COVID-19.
But the one thing that we've acutely felt ourselves is dramatic reduction in budget for marketing dollars.
They're offering to provide $25,000 worth of marketing, from video to coding to website design. All a business has to do is go to their website, sherpamarketing.ca, fill out a form showing their top-line revenue is below $800,000 and that they suffered significant losses during the pandemic. The company isn't alone in their endeavors. Fisher says others have joined them in the campaign, with more to come. Feed on 570 News. 680 News Time 219. As COVID-19 continues to claim lives around the world, and here in Canada, provinces are moving ahead with plans to cautiously begin reopening their
I'm just
lockdown
telling you how to put it right up to your eyelids without actually touching your eyes.
Recovery strategies. And yesterday he stressed that none of the plans hinge on people being immune to catching COVID-19 twice.
Under the material, you're going to be irritated all the time. You put it right up to the edge.
It is very clear that the science is not decided on whether or not having had COVID once prevents you from getting it again.
Dr. Theresa Tam, Canada's chief public health officer, said the federal government has set up an immunity task force that will investigate how people's immune systems are responding to COVID-19.
Well, I can see you. You think I can.
You're listening to 680 News. Boris Johnson is back after recovering from COVID-19.
I don't believe you. He's dead. He's in North Korea right now. They fucked up a heart transplant.
For the Prime Minister said that Johnson has made a full recovery 2 weeks
He
after
is
his
Kim
release from hospital.
Jong-un.
As you can imagine,
And Kim Jong-un is acting like Boris Johnson, so they think
20,000
he's
deaths
brain
among
dead.
people hospitalised with
That's
COVID-19, the fifth country in the world to reach that total. Thousands more are thought to have died in nursing homes. Opposition politicians say Britain's coronavirus death toll could have been lower if Johnson had imposed a nationwide lockdown sooner, and also criticised his government over shortages of protective equipment for medical workers and a lack of testing for the virus. With hundreds of new deaths announced each day, some health experts say Britain could eventually have the highest virus death toll in Europe. Karen Chamis, London.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says hundreds of residents continue to die each day from COVID-19. He gave an update on the most recent numbers today.
This is just terrible news. 367 deaths.
I don't know where my chopsticks are, but I'm going to tell you.
Which is horrific. And there is no relative context to death.
No, there's not.
Cuomo also reported the number of hospitalizations topped 1,000 yesterday, but was still falling from the day before. He says the number of individuals put on a ventilator have dropped as well. 680 News Time 221. That's time now for traffic and weather. Let's get her on the ones. Here's Christine Langos.
This report is brought to you by your local Ontario Subaru dealers. On the southbound Don Valley Parkway south of Eglinton, we still have this stalled van on the right shoulder, but it looks like help has arrived and a tow is finally on scene.
No.
Police are on scene also, so it's causing a bit of a visual distraction for motorists traveling south on the Don Valley Parkway. Now, northbound on the 404 from the 407 to north of Highway 7, we have the HOV lane as well as the 3 left lanes closed for construction. So this is the only area around the GTA where I'm spotting any delay whatsoever is through this construction on the North 404. The northbound Allen ramp to westbound 401 collector is closed because of long-term construction.